welcome to Sunday Night with Old Time Radio. We have another crowded schedule tonight, so we'll just identify the programs that will be airing. We begin with Dick Lawrence. He gives a very interesting, it's an hour long, but it's well worth the listen. He gives an interesting presentation on early radio. We then move to Edgar Bergen, guest star Hopalong Cassidy. We have Moon Over Africa, The Burns and Allen Show, Figurine of Death, that's from Dark Fantasy, and then we close with another episode of Plumhouse. Let's get started.
This is Dick Lawrence speaking. We're all the children of our time, whether we realize it or not, and a choice few of us will be remembered in some distant tomorrow for what we did today. The curious thing about history is you almost never know when you're living it. Commercial radio broadcasting began around 1922. To start a radio station, you didn't need a license or permission or anything. All you needed was a radio transmitter, which cost about $1,000. If you had the $1,000 and nothing better to do with your time, you became a broadcaster, and all your friends thought you were crazy. The transmitters had been designed for dot-dash transmission on ocean vessels. The sending antenna had to be strung horizontally between two masts, like a ship. And if there were no masts in your neighborhood, say Omaha, Nebraska, you built a pair of wooden towers that looked exactly like oil derricks and strung the wires between them. These wooden monstrosities cropped up on the roofs of a lot of department stores across country. The stores sold radio receivers, but you couldn't sell the radios unless there was something to listen to. So the stores also had the first transmitters. In 1924, there were 2.5 million radio sets in the United States, which sounds pretty grand, until some cynic points out that that was just a little better than 1% of the population listening to your broadcasts. Joseph L. Sanders was born in Thayer, Kansas, October 15th, 1896. He was the son of a hard-luck cattle rancher and citrus fruit grower. Joe spent his boyhood in Indian Territory, known today as Centralia, Missouri. At 10, he was a boy soprano, later a concert pianist, and high baritone soloist with the KC Oratorio Society, and also a member of a male quartet. He was a soldier during World War I.
I know a girl, poor little girl, sweet as a girl could be. How she bears all her cares. She has a smile, oh, what a smile, that's what appeals to me. And if we meet someday, to her I mean to say, little orphan Annie, you'll go smiling through, telling Mr. Trouble, who's afraid of you. You don't let your worries ever cling to you. Though you have nobody, you can bring them through. Though the skies are cloudy, they're bound to clear up someday. Bluebirds will say howdy, because you cheer up and say, come on, Mr. Trouble, who's afraid of you? Little orphan Annie will go smiling through.
Ever since his baseball pitching days, when he struck out 27 batters in a regulation Kansas City Amateur League game, Joe Sanders carried the moniker Old Left-Hander. He gave up his chances for a major league career and chose instead to become a band leader, thus utilizing his musical talents as vocalist, pianist, arranger, and composer. The first radio sets weren't cheap because they came enclosed in expensive cabinets. In the early 1920s, radio receivers were a rich man's toy. Beautiful cabinets of cherry wood, mahogany, or walnut, with price tags anywhere from $200 to $650. It wasn't as simple to tune a radio as it is now, because you had to know the digit combinations for the 3 tuning knobs to get a station. Between stations, canary static whistled through. But once you got right on the mark, the thrill of pulling voices and music out of the night was overwhelming. Carlton A. Coon was born in Rochester, Minnesota, February 5th, 1894. After the Coon family had moved to Lexington, Missouri, youthful Cooney enjoyed going down to the Missouri riverbank to both sing and shoot dice with black dock workers, the happy lot with whom Carlton not only improved his ability to harmonize, but from whom he picked up musical ideas for future use. Joe Sanders and Carlton Coon met in a music store in Kansas City, Missouri, decided to start a dance band. This was about 1918. Ballroom dancing was just coming in, and this was a good time for young men to get into the dancing business.
When the skies were clear, I could always find you near. Now I'm alone in the rain. When they turned to gray, like a bird you flew away, left me alone in the rain.
how'd you do, you big old ratty old public? Was the familiar cheery greeting of the old left-hander, Master Showman Joe Sanders, as the Coons Sanders Orchestra took to the air, the first organized band ever to play for radio. A saucer-sized microphone hung before the bandstand, and when Cooney and Joe mellifluously blended voices with the aid of hand megaphones, they sent enchanting harmonies out into the ether. Pioneer radio stations had the transmitting power of light bulbs. 100 watts, 250 watts, 500. The broadcast spectrum was pretty empty, and there was lots of elbow room for your signal to reach listeners 50, 100, 200 miles away. The novelty of the thing was so great that listeners didn't care what they heard, as long as they heard something. In the early days of radio, it was an amateur's paradise. Anybody could walk into a radio station, give a lecture or a sermon, play the piano, sing a song, recite a poem, tell jokes, do bird imitations, or what have you. There were no programs. Just hours and hours of amateurs, introduced by somebody called an annunciator. This was a young guy hired because he could speak English and sing a little. When the supply of amateurs thinned out, he had to sing and talk until somebody new came through the door. This chore turned out to be so exhausting that the poor guy threatened to quit. So they gave him rest periods by playing phonograph records on a Victrola. Radio studios were tents, camping on the roof with the transmitter, freezing cold in the winter. Then they became tar paper shacks on the roof, black and broiling hot in the summertime. Then they moved one step down to the attic, or all the way down to the basement. The way to the studio was always a long walk with many twists and turns to some cubbyhole. Like a poor relation reluctantly taken in for an indefinite visit, radio studios were tolerated guests as long as they kept out of the way of normal activities. Obviously, they were not here to stay.
What a girl, what a night, what a moon, shining bright. What a time and place to bill and coo. What a wild desire to cuddle you. What a thrill I would get if our lips ever met. Can you blame a man for not acting right? What a girl, what a night. lips ever met. Can you blame a man for not acting right? What a girl, what a night, what a night.
The reason people thought you were out of your mind for going into broadcasting was that there was no money in it. There were no sponsors. None. When someone suggested that the department store advertise its sales on its own radio station, they laughed themselves silly. Newspapers were the only place to advertise. Once they'd sold the radios, they had no further interest in broadcasting. So many of them sold their radio stations, too. And please remove those wooden towers from the roof before some high wind topples them into the street and kills some of our customers. Phonograph records played on a Victrola sounded terrible over the radio. Live music was always preferable. Live anything. To provide at least some entertainment, broadcasters began to look beyond their own facilities. Thus was born the remote pickup. In general, there were two areas in which they could find something taking place in an organized way, or at least of a nature lending itself to broadcasting. The first of these were sporting events. These had limitations as to the hours of availability. The others were a more versatile source. Ballrooms and hotels, where dance bands were playing. It was a new vogue started by Vernon and Irene Castle in 1914. Public ballroom dancing. Very respectable.
After you've gone, left me crying. After you've gone, there's no denying you'll feel blue, you'll feel sad. You miss the dearest little pal you ever had, 'cause there'll come a time, now don't forget it, there'll come a time when you'll regret it. Someday when you grow lonely, your heart will break like mine, you'll want me only after you've gone away.
There were no rules about broadcast time, that is, the hours of broadcast. A station's schedule could be anything that it wanted to be. Some stations would sign on at 6 in the morning, or 7, or 8, broadcast all day and into the evening till around 10 o'clock, and they'd sign off. Others would go to midnight. Some stations would operate through the morning until noon. Then they'd sign off for an hour, so the staff could go out and eat lunch. Then at 1 o'clock they'd sign on again and continue with their programs, such as they were. There was a station in Chicago that broadcast nothing but opera. They would sign on as the band was tuning up in the orchestra pit. The curtain would go up, the opera would be performed. Then at the end, with the audience applauding and the performers taking their bows, the station would gracefully sign off. That's all they existed for, to broadcast the opera. 3 hours. There were no rules. WDAF in Kansas City was an unusual station in that it stayed on after midnight. There was no such thing as a 24-hour radio station. It was ridiculous to broadcast in the wee small hours of the morning when nobody was listening. But WDAF on Saturday night would come on at midnight with a dance band. And listeners would stay up to catch that band because it was the Coon Sanders Organization. And they had rollicking comedy and wonderful rhythmic dance numbers, and they were coming from the Mulebach Hotel in Kansas City. One night, somebody in the band wisecracked, "What are we doing on the air now? No one but the Nighthawks will be listening in." From that moment on, they had a name which became their tagline. They were the Kansas City Nighthawks. At the Cook County Hospital in Chicago, there was a young, toe-tapping intern named Jules Stein, lover of dance music and a potential band leader. He was working his way through medical school by playing with a band on weekends. His group had become so popular that they had more dates than they could fill because he had to hold back time so he could study. It started out with substitutes. Then he found himself scouting talent and booking local bands. His sideline blossomed into a regular business. What Stein was doing in medicine instead of music is something of a mystery. A good guess might be that it was a parental ambition. My son, the doctor, that sort of thing. He graduated from medical school all right and became a certified doctor. So much for parental obligations. But Stein never took up a practice. Instead, he got together with another musical intern, W.E. Goodhart, started a little band booking agency called the Music Corporation of America. For the first 5 years, they didn't make a nickel. But after that, MCA became the biggest agency for dance orchestras in the world.
Where was I, waiting all alone, wondering why I was all alone, wondering where I would find you dear. You were here, oh so far, oh so near. Then we met, and we've never known what it means being all alone. Hold me close, time is like that. Here we are, all alone at last.
The Kansas City Nighthawks consisted of 9 men, and they played jazz, original and unique. Their music was happy and peppy, invitational to dancers or foot tappers. Joe's boyhood training as a choir vocalist and concert pianist enabled him to provide the Nighthawks with material bordering on what might be called concert jazz. He wrote numerous and delightful breaks into numbers, pyramided chord structures, punctuated his music with stops. Everybody in the band got a chance to solo. Hymns and spirituals were often played in syncopation. They even had a theme song, original composition which has been lost. But the words to their theme song, their sign-on verse, survives. When Coon and Saunders start to play the Nighthawk Blues, you'll start to sway. Tune right in on the radio, write a little note and say hello. From coast to coast and back again, you can hear that syncopated band. It's a bear, you'll declare, when you listen to the Nighthawk Blues. I mean, listen to the Nighthawk Blues.
Slewfoot, Bluefoot. Ease 'em down, strut some more. Sweet, lay 'em low, like you know how to do. Glue 'em down to the spot. Oh, baby, get hot. Slewfoot, don't you hear that song? 2 foot, move your feet along. Bluefoot, oh, it won't be long. Slewfoot, don't you do me wrong. Shake 'em up for me, shake 'em up for Mandy Lee.
One of the curiosities of early-day radio, which engineers noticed right away, was that the signal went out a great deal further after the sun went down. During the daytime, they might go out 100 miles, but after dark, they were picked up all over the country, sometimes all over the world. And it was assumed that sunshine had something to do with this. They were right in that. The boys would split the duties of entertaining by Joe Sanders singing the love songs and Carlton Coon doing the novelty stuff, the fast, jazzy stuff. Carlton was a great ad-libber, wonderfully quick wit, and they would exchange comments all through the show. Between hilarious and roof-rocking numbers, the boys used the mic to convey friendly greetings and messages of cheer to hospitalized shut-ins and to loyal correspondents listening on battery-operated sets, at points ranging from a lonely Canadian rancher's hut to a ship off the Virginia coast. One of the annoyances was telephone calls. People would phone in locally and long distance from hundreds of miles away requesting numbers. They finally had to announce they wouldn't take any more phone calls because in order to answer the phone, they had to leave the bandstand and go out into the lobby. And there were too many trips back and forth here. It was interfering with the entertainment. So they said, wire us. Send us a telegram. That they can deliver right to the bandstand. So people did. Not just a few telegrams, but so many that Western Union installed a ticker tape between the piano and the drums so that Joe and Cooney could literally acknowledge dozens of wires with each air session. In Chicago, Jules Stein was distance dialing early one Sunday morning when his radio pulled in WTAF, the Kansas City Nighthawks. He was so impressed he took a train and went to see them in person. At the Muehlbach Hotel, he was even more impressed by the wall-to-wall crowds. Every table was filled. The dance floor looked like New Year's Eve. Fist fights were breaking out when people who'd come long distances found they couldn't get into the place. The combination of this snappy band and radio exposure was sensational. Jules Stein introduced himself to Joe and Cooney during a rest break and spent every break for the remainder of the evening urging them to leave town. Come to Chicago. That's where the opportunities are. That's where the big money is. Stein wouldn't leave until he'd signed them up to an exclusive contract, and they promised to think it over. Joe and Cooney didn't know it, but they were the first of a long line of famous bands that were to operate through MCA in the coming years. Julie Stein didn't even have a booking for him. He was just carried away with enthusiasm. But he had this gut feeling that he could sell them, and sell them big. When the Kansas City Nighthawks first came to Chicago in 1925, Julie Stein booked them into the Lincoln Tavern, where they were well received, but didn't do sensational business. Stein next put the band into the Congress Hotel. Step up in prestige, but not in popularity. What the Nighthawks needed was a radio wire, a first-class location, and a broadcast outlet. This radio wire was the telephone line which connected the band, wherever it was playing, to the radio station. This cost $75 a week. The band wouldn't pay it, the station wouldn't pay it, nor would the Congress Hotel. Finally, Julie Stein talked the owner of the Black Hawk restaurant, Otto Roth, into hiring the band with a radio wire. Stein paid the wire charges for the first few weeks, but after that, Roth was convinced by the new business his place was getting, so that he not only paid the broadcast charges, he kept the Nighthawks playing at the Black Hawk restaurant for the next 6 years. 1926 was the year that they made it big. The Blackhawks were filled with more money and popularity than they thought they could possibly be filled with. Of course, they were aware of their shortcomings. None of them claimed to be terrific musicians, just competent. And Joe Sanders and Carlton Coon both thought they couldn't sing. So they sang together to help each other.
Oh, those Wabash blues. I know I got my blues. Oh, lonesome soul am I feel that I could die. Candlelight that gleams haunts me in my dreams. I pack my walking shoes to lose those Wabash blues.
The musical aggregation was, of course, a reflection of the times. The young people of the times felt that the music was speaking for them. They called themselves the Lost Generation because they had marched off to war in 1917 with the idea of making the world safe for democracy, all those glorious slogans. And very shortly after that, at the peace conferences, they'd been disillusioned by the ruthlessness and greediness of the conquerors and the world in general. And prohibition had been forced upon them, and they were rebelling against that. There was a great deal of surreptitious drinking, and bootleggers were becoming millionaires through their nefarious activities. Most of the nightclubs that were being run at this time were owned by the underworld. And there were many stories. The gangsters liked jazz and liked the snappy dance music of the type that the Nighthawks pervade. Boys in the band had a very good time, and the relationships were so good that with only minor changes, the Nighthawks remained the same group for 14 years.
Down in the hills where there are stills resides a man who don't care for thrills, living alone, rolling his own, laziest man that ever was known, sitting and rocking the whole day long, humming and strumming a mournful song. Play it.
Early in their relationship, Carlton Coon had discovered that Joe Sanders had no confidence in himself. Despite all of his talent, his superb vocalist, showman, and master of the keyboard, his excellent diction, his choice of words, and ready wit that made him a radio favorite, Joe was something of a pessimist and melancholy off stage. Carlton would bolster him up and urge him on. Carlton was his backbone. And Joe would go out and put on a terrific show. But in private, Joe just didn't believe.
When the mountains are hazy, you can yell Tennessee lazy, moaning a lazy song that speaks of the Tennessee hills. People say that he's crazy, but that don't bother Tennessee lazy. He only thinks and drinks the dew from the Tennessee still.
When they first started out as a small, unknown dance band, and they played irregularly and for country crowds, Joe would always ask Cooney, do you think they like us? Do they really like us? And Cooney would say over and over again, yes, Joe, they like us. Can't you see the way they're behaving, the way they're acting? And Joe would say, well, it's one thing to clown around in a parlor, and it's another thing to play in front of a bunch of hicks, you know, but I don't think we'll ever go any further than this. When they got in the Mulebach Hotel, one of the posh places of Kansas City, again, there was Joe saying, do you think they like us? And Cooney saying, yes, they like us. Look at the way they're responding. Look how packed the place is. They like us. When it came time to go to Chicago, Joe didn't want to go. He was scared. Big town, big competition. It was Cooney that said, we got to make the move. We're never going to get anywhere if we don't try. Even if we fail, we'll learn something. And Joe went along. But Joe was subject to these moods of black pessimism that were to hound him throughout his entire life. Whenever it looked like trouble was going to start up, some drunk came out of the crowd, climbed onto the bandstand, and tried to disrupt things. It was Carlton Coon who stepped forward and put him back in his place, gently but firmly. Carlton was a charmer, a wit, a handsome man. Women were fascinated by him. But Carlton, beneath his veneer, had an iron hand. He protected that band from fights and gangsters and trouble. And especially, he protected Joe Sanders.
I'll be down to get you in a taxi, honey, but you better be ready about 8:30. Now, sweetie, don't be late. I want to be right there when the band starts playing. And remember, when we get there, honey, one step's baby gonna have 'em all. I'm gonna wear out both my shoes when dance those weary old blues. All tomorrow night at Dogtown Strutter's Ball.
One of the not-so-charming unofficial activities of the time was to be summoned by Al Capone for a private performance. Performers were literally kidnapped out of their clubs, taken to Cicero, and put on a big show for Big Al. If he liked it, every member of the band got $100 and a big smile and a handshake, and they treated them beautifully. If he didn't like it, they just took you back and dumped you out of the car. You felt grateful that you hadn't been injured in the process. Many performers, many big headliners were kidnapped like this, and it was never reported to the police or to the papers. Of the year they'd play at the Black Hawk restaurant. In the summer months, everything closed because there was no air conditioning. And besides that, people left the city, went out into the distant summer homes that everyone seemed to have at that time. So the band would play college proms and various one-night stands. And Joe would come into his own, because he felt this wasn't such stiff competition, and these people weren't as critical as the nightclub crowd in Chicago. Traveling in a caravan of varicolored Auburn sports cars, 9 of them, 1 for each bandsman, they made quite a spectacle going down the highway. Warm, starry nights somewhere far out in the country, Wisconsin, Michigan, Indiana, and a wonderful party. The bandsmen all enjoying themselves. Sanders and Cooney clowning around as though they didn't have a care in the world. It was charming. The young people loved them. Warm summer nights when they were playing what they called the small time, the boys could be free and easy, and they rose to new heights of musical imaginativeness that they had never achieved before. Some of their performances were awe-inspiring. More than any other musical aggregation, the Coon-Saunders Nighthawks typified what they called the Jazz Age, and flaming youth, and all of the wildness that their elders feared, and that wasn't really going on. One ecstatic newspaper reporter wrote, "Inside the pavilion, dancers and bandstand crowders saw Cooney and Joe nettily attired in blue jackets and light pinstripe trousers. Handsome, athletic chaps, smiling and tossing witty remarks to delighted admirers. Coon and Saunders were by no means disillusioning to persons whose hearts they had palpitated via the radio. Torrid tunes and shuffling feet made the temperature soar, and soon the co-partners, happy and perspiring, were coatless, tieless, and with shirt sleeves rolled up to the elbows as they alternated on vocals or blended voices in the inimitable manner that had merited them critical acclaim as the greatest singers in jazz." In addition to personal appearances and broadcasting on network radio, they also made records. The band had been recording for quite some time. And occasionally Joe Sanders would withdraw into his private world and compose a tune that was new. He did a great many novelty numbers and what they called jazzy numbers at that time. He did write the melody for a ballad to the lyrics by Gus Kahn. It was called Beloved, but the band didn't record it. "We're not good enough for it," said Joe. "I can't sing it, you can't sing it." So Ted Weems and a number of other bands recorded it and became quite famous when the tune was a hit. "See," said Carlton, "I told you we should have done it." "No," said Joe, "no."
Listen to the rhythm king. Listen to him play that thing. Lord, Lord, he's some sensation. Oh, listen to the saxophone laying on a minor tone. My, sweet syncopation. It makes you rock like a chair, heats up the air. Oh, it's just like wine. While you quiver and shake, he plays a break, wrinkles up your spine. Pretty music so intense, hold your feeling in suspense. Lord, Lord, listen to the rhythm king.
It started in a very commonplace, a very ordinary way. One day, Cooney complained of a toothache. Went to see a dentist. The dentist said, "You've got an abscessed tooth. I'll pull it, but you've got to go to the hospital." So the band operated without Carlton for a few days. It was at the end of a summer, and they were just picking up their nightclub engagement for the fall. Every day, the boys would play over the telephone for Carlton's amusement, and they visited him frequently at the hospital. He was at Henroten Hospital, which was close to the Loop and convenient. Carlton's condition became worse. He slipped into oblivion, and then in a matter of days, he died. He was only 38 years old. With Carlton not sitting in front of the drums, ready to blend his mellow voice with that of Joe Sanders, or slip into a cheery greeting to some radio friend, things just couldn't be the same anymore. Joe Sanders took it hard. He broke down completely. It was weeks before they could even console him. It was to be years before he tried for a comeback. Although riding the crest of national popularity and seemingly destined to remain there for many years, the Coon Saunders Orchestra disbanded. "The party's over, boys," said Joe Sanders. "It's all over. We might as well go home."
Keeping out of mischief now, really am in love and how. I'm through playing with fire, it's you whom I desire. All the world can plainly see, you're the only one for me. I have told them in advance, they can't break up our romance. Living up to every vow, keeping out of mischief now.
And Joe spoke the truth. The party was over, not only for the Coon Saunders Nighthawks, but for the nation as well. Economic times had turned sour with the great crash of 1929. The Depression was ahead. The party was over. Dick Lawrence here. Thank you very much for listening.
And time again for Edgar Bergen with Charlie McCarthy. With Mortimer Snerd and Ray Noble and his orchestra, tonight's special guest is the cowboy king of television, Hopalong Cassidy. And now, Edgar Bergen with Charlie McCarthy.
Christmas, everybody. And you too, Charlie.
Merry Christmas to you too, Bergen. You good, kind, generous, old ex-tightwad, you. I just can't spread that stuff too thick, you know. Yeah.
Then you really think that Santa was good to you this Christmas?
Oh, gosh, yes. Why, it's enough to make me wish that I deserved it.
Is that so?
Yes. It's the nicest Christmas I've had this year.
Yes. Well, after all, it isn't everybody that's lucky enough to get a television set.
No. So once I got what I wanted. I'm a happy kiddio with a brand new video. Bergen, tell me, what made you break down like that? You sort of went all the way.
Well, Charlie, I just wanted you to know. I just wanted to show you how much, Charlie, how much you mean to me.
Gosh, Bergie, gee, your lips are quivering with emotion. Or is that just bum ventriloquism?
I mean it, Charlie. You're a very good boy.
Well, yes, I'll admit. I've been so good, I've been nauseating all. It's a good thing Christmas finally came. I tell you, my halo was about to blow a fuse.
Well, I'm glad you're happy.
Yeah. Yes, today everything is sunshine.
I say, chaps, a frightfully jolly Yuletide to you, eh, what?
Yeah. Well, of course, you have to expect a little fog now and then. Merry Christmas, Ray.
Same to you, Johnny.
Gosh, did you see what Bergen gave me for Christmas, Ray?
Can't guess, old boy, but I admire you for trying to be so cheerful about it.
Well, now, Ray, I gave him a very expensive television set.
Really?
And after all, why shouldn't I? Why, after all, his happiness is my happiness.
Yes, well, I hope my television set won't be your television set.
Well, I know that I wouldn't want to part with my set. You know, I get twice as much sleep since I bought one.
How's that, Ray?
Well, with the ordinary radio, I used to sleep through the sound.
Yeah.
Now I sleep through the picture, too.
I see, yeah. Well, no matter how you feel about it, Ray, television is here to stay.
Like me in the 8th grade.
All right. You know, I wonder how I would look on television.
Well, don't you worry, Bergen. I'll stick by you anyway.
Well, just a minute. Why shouldn't I make a good appearance on video?
Well, Bergen, you I just don't know how to say it, but you just can't wear your hat all the time, or...
I owe it to my fans to appear on television. Lots of people don't even know what I really look like.
Believe me, Bergen, it's better that way.
No. Ray, do you think I would disappoint my public?
Well, why take a chance, old boy? I mean, you might leave a bad taste in their eyes.
Dave, Skinny Dugan and the gang will get a kick out of watching my television set.
Yeah?
I'm going to invite each kid on the day he gets his allowance.
Charlie, you aren't thinking of charging them?
Charge nothing. It'll be strictly cash, Bergen. Especially when Hopalong Cassidy is on.
Yes, Hopalong Cassidy. He's certainly the most popular hero on television.
Yeah.
You know, Ray, his real name is Bill Boyd.
Oh, is that so? I'd always thought that Bill Boyd was the name of a theatrical magazine.
No, that's Bill Boyd, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Bill Boyd is a cowboy.
Oh, a cowboy. Oh, one of those chaps. Oh, yeah.
Yes, one of those chaps.
Why do they always carry a rope with them?
Well, that's to catch cows.
Oh, really? But what do they use for bait?
Well, you see, they did... No, I just won't answer him. I refuse to get mixed up in anything like that.
Well, Charlie, since you're such a great admirer of Hopalong Cassidy, I have another Christmas present for you.
You have?
I've asked him to come over here today so that you can meet him.
You mean it, honest?
Yes.
Hoppy is coming this way?
That's right, Charlie.
Well, partner, my cup of happiness is just flopping over today. Yippee! Maybe he'll teach me how to throw a lasso.
A lasso?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, I've got a certain truant officer in mind.
Ray Noble and his orchestra and chorus offer a bit of Christmas sentiment with dear hearts and gentle people.
I love those dear hearts and gentle people who live in my hometown. Because those dear hearts and gentle people will never ever let you down.
Read the good book from Friday to Monday.
That's how the weekend goes.
I've got a dream. I'll live there one day with picket fence and rambling road.
I feel so welcome each time that I return that my happy heart keeps laughing like a clown.
I love those dear
hearts and gentle people live and love in my
Oh, Santa floats through the air with the greatest of ease. A jolly fat man in the red BVD's arms.
Mortimer,
Yeah?
I offer you season's greetings.
Well, I'll be glad to take him if the price is right. Oh,
What I mean is I wish you a Merry Christmas.
oh yeah, sure, thank you.
I suppose you hung up your stocking by the fireplace last night?
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
And what did you find in it this morning?
A big hole. A big hole. I hung it too near the fire. I'm a card, yeah.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that, but I'm sure that Santa brought you the presents you wanted.
No, he didn't. No. Maybe he had a little trouble reading the letter.
Oh, I see. Why do you think that?
Well, I wanted to be surprised, so I read it with my eyes closed.
All right. How did you do that?
Well, you see, I was, that don't even make sense. No.
Well, what did you want for Christmas?
Well, mostly I wanted a flannel nightcap.
A flannel nightcap.
Yeah, I like them. Yeah, with a tassel.
I see. Do you actually sleep in a nightcap?
Well, sure, you do. Well, just my head.
Just your head, yeah.
For the rest of me, I wanted one of them new plunging nightshirts.
Plunging nightshirts.
They're real sporty, you know. That's for me.
Yeah, sure. Well, old Santa has lots of boys to remember.
Sure.
And he works very hard.
Well, he looked awfully run down last night.
He did. Do you mean to tell me that you saw Santa Claus?
No, I sure did. No. Oh, I'll cross my eyes and hope to squint.
Well, tell me about it. How did it happen?
Well, you see, it was, I'd say offhand, it was about, around midnight, see?
Yeah.
And I heard a noise downstairs, see?
Mm-hmm.
First, I didn't pay no attention, and then, didn't pay no attention at all to it, you see? And, so that's the way it is, you see? Yeah. So, what was I saying?
You heard a noise downstairs and you didn't pay any attention.
Oh, yeah. I thought probably it was me walking in my sleep. And then I felt around in bed and I was still in it, and then I got suspicious.
You got suspicious? But you finally went downstairs.
Yeah, I sort of quietly croaked down, yeah, and snuck up on him, I see. The poor fellow was so befuddled he was putting things in his bag instead of taking them out.
I see, he was putting things in the bag, huh? And what did he do when he saw you?
Well, he held a gun out at me, and well, I told him I'd rather have a flannel nightcap.
Mortimer, that wasn't Santa Claus. The man was armed.
Oh, sure. He was legged, too.
Yeah, I know. What I mean is he might have blown your brains out.
Oh, that's okay. I never use them anyhow.
Well, what happened next?
Well, then he turned a splashlight on me.
Flashlight.
Yeah. And when he saw my face, he scrum a terrible scream.
He did.
Yeah. And then he jumped out the window.
So he screamed and jumped out the window.
Yeah, poor old Santa. When he seen me, I think he quit believing in people.
That Santa Claus of yours was a burglar.
Yeah?
Mortimer.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you so imbecilic?
Oh, I guess it makes up for me being so homely.
I think it does. Charlie, I see you're all ready to welcome Hopalong Cassidy.
Yeah, I got my chaps pressed and my spurs honed. I'm a roaring, snorting buckaroo. And I wish I had a buck or two.
You mean you spent your whole Christmas allowance?
Yeah. Empty pockets in the old corral.
Charlie, do you mean you'd rather have money than meet Hopalong Cassidy?
No. But I hear he's loaded, and I'd just like to meet him on equal terms.
Hopalong Cassidy. Well, Hopalong, I'd like to have Charlie McCarthy shake hands with you.
Put her there, Pard.
Hi, Hoppy. Pull up a spur and sit down.
Thanks, Charlie. Well, young fella, Edgar tells me you're quite a Western fan.
Yes, Hopalong. You're Charlie's favorite cowboy.
Yeah, I even put a saddle on my new television set. Partner, how you been riding on the range? How long about?
How long? Well, I started way back branding cows on the old bar, double X, Lazy Z, triple cross, Diamond B, single Y, panhandles, Susie Q Ranch. Yeah.
Partner, how could you brand all that on one animal?
Well, in those days, we had long cows.
Yeah. You have long jokes, too. You know, Hopalong, I've been watching you on my TV set. How come you ride with your shoulders all hunched up sometime?
So I can squeeze through one of those 10-inch tubes.
Well, Hopalong, don't worry. You'll always come through. You know, I dreamed about you last night, and if it wasn't for you, there wouldn't have been any Christmas presents this year.
You mean a bunch of ornery farmers tried to hold up the stage sled?
No, I'll tell you. It seems that Santa Claus was having a lot of trouble. You see, in this dream, this is the finest thing, I was Santa Claus's assistant, and my name was Charlie McCringle. And I was up there at the North Pole, just before Santa was going to start his run.
Ho, 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 ho.
What's the matter, Santa? You're not your jolly self. That last ho sounded kind of low.
Well, yes, Charlie. Charlie McCringle, Santa's having a lot of trouble. A mighty lot of trouble.
All right, Bergen, just play it. Don't ham it.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that, Santa Claus. I thought up here at the North Pole, I thought you'd be sitting on top of the world.
No, I can't deliver my Christmas presents this year.
No. You mean you're going to be left holding the bag?
I will unless my old friend Hopalong Cassidy comes through. He's the only man who can pinch it for old Santa Claus. I hope he doesn't let me down. Well, listen. That sounds like Hopalong.
He must be riding on a cobblestone cloud.
Oh, Hopper!
Horse blanket. Well, Santa, what can I do for you?
Well, Hopalong, my reindeer refused to ride tonight.
What's wrong with the critters?
Well, they ain't happy, Hoppy. Their answers are floppy.
From pulling Santa's jalopy?
Yeah.
No, they're complaining because they say they do all the work and I get all the publicity.
Well, Santa, you're a mighty big hero with all the kids, and that's not bad.
No.
You're not even on television.
Well, that's exactly why the reindeer are dissatisfied.
But everyone who knows Santa knows his reindeer just as well. Donder and Blitzen and all the rest.
Well, that's right. And I wish you'd tell them that. I wish you'd just tell them that.
I'm aiming to. Millions of kids all over the world are waiting for their Christmas presents, and we can't let them down. Come on, McCringle.
All right.
You and me will go over there and talk to those reindeer in the only language they understand. Reindeer.
Pipe down. This meeting of the Benevolent and Protective Order of Reindeer must come to order. Now, here's Hopalong Cassidy to listen to your troubles.
All right, Blitzen. What's a ruffling your fur?
If our demands are not met, no presents will be delivered tonight. We reindeer are revolted.
You certainly are. Well, let's hear your demands, Prancer. Your hoof is up. What is it?
Well, I think we reindeer should have one night off a year.
Well, that's not so bad. What night do you want off?
Christmas Eve.
That's that. And what are we going to do, Hoppy?
I don't know, partner. This is a new situation for me. This one calls for the cowboy to be smarter than his horse.
Yeah. Well, let's play safe. Let's ask the horse to help us out.
Just a minute, friends.
Yeah.
Simmer down, friends.
What's on your mind, Dancer?
Well, I have a beef, too.
Beef?
Well, no, I don't exactly have a beef either because I'm 100% venison.
That's the same. That's the same as jerky.
No, don't get smart with me, but you see, we need more recreation. I like to dance, and there are no fawns up here.
I see what you mean, partner. It's all work and no fun.
Yo. Hop along, what you said.
I got that from my horse.
Oh, yeah. Well, Dancer, there may not be any lady reindeer around, but I didn't know you were the romantic type.
Oh, heavens to Elizabeth, New Jersey, yes. Why, there's such a hungry yearning burning under the hide of me.
Yeah.
Maybe we ought to squirt it with a fire extinguisher.
Yeah. Why be half saved?
Well, that's very smart, but I'm in a snit already, and I just don't care who knows it.
Really?
And the only person who'd be happy with my job is an astronomer.
An astronomer?
Yes, an astronomer. You see, Comet is hitched to the sleigh in front of me, and I spend all my time staring at the comet's tail.
I say, old boy, I'd like to make a motion.
What kind of motion, Prancer?
Oh, just any kind. I'm just tired of sitting here motionless.
I don't see what you reindeer are kicking about. You got the best jobs of any reindeer in the world.
Now, I wouldn't say that, Hopabout. Look here, old boy, I have an uncle in England who has an excellent situation in a hunting lodge.
In a hunting lodge? What does he do?
He is a hat rack.
Yo. That's using his head. Come to order here, will you? Have you got any more complaints now?
Yes. Santa must get rid of these infernal sleigh bells.
Why?
They keep ringing in my ears all the time. It's horrible.
It sure looks bad, McCringle.
Yeah. Let's put the whole thing to a vote. All those reindeer not in favor of walking like horses, say nay. Well, there you are, McCringle. Our minds are made up.
Well, let's go back to Santa's office and talk it over with him.
Yeah, come on. Maybe Santa will realize that you reindeer have your point.
Well, I see you brought the reindeer with you. Hop along. Everything is ironed out, isn't it now?
No, Santa. Looks like they aren't pulling for you.
Well, I can't understand your attitude, dear. Haven't I always tried to be big?
Oh, that's just your trouble, Santa. You're too big. Mm-hmm. Yes, we're tired of hauling all that blubber around.
Well, I wasn't so fat when I started, but I guess I've gained a little in the interim.
Yeah, you gained a little in the outer rim, too.
Yes, and we are through with all that. Every Christmas you make us sweat and strain, lift those presents, hold that sleigh, get a little tired, and we land in Glendale.
Man.
Deserted by my own reindeer. Well, now the good little boys and girls won't get their presents. Hop along. Why don't you take my place tonight? Hitch up a team of Broncos to the sleigh and deliver the presents yourself,
Now, hold on, Santa Claus. We can't all of a sudden switch over to a Western-style Christmas.
Well, why not, Hoppy? We could be guest riders in the sky.
That's ridiculous. We couldn't use mistletoe because it's not Western. The men would have to kiss the gals under the cactus.
That's bad, huh?
Sure, you might miss the gal and hit the cactus.
Well, with some gals I've seen, there could be a break.
So you don't think our Western Christmas would work out, huh?
Well, Santa, think of Christmas Eve and a bunch of carol singers under your window singing Cow, Cow, Boogie.
No, I'm afraid that wouldn't be so good, no.
And picture me riding into town on a buckboard. Instead of saying up thunder, up blitzing, I'd be cracking my whip and hollering, Mule-Trot! No, Santa, I couldn't do that to the kids. Besides, I couldn't get down the chimney like you do.
Well, why not?
Well, my gun triggers might scrape against the chimney and plug me in the leg. Then I'd really be hoppy.
Well, couldn't you take off your gun?
Take off my gun? Why, that's the same as running around naked.
Yeah.
No, Santa, we can't disappoint those kids. They want an old-fashioned Christmas.
Well, then it's up to the reindeer. What about it, reindeer?
No, not you, Jim Tight, not me.
Well, we gotta convince them. Listen, reindeer, don't you realize that you're just as much a part of Christmas as old Santa himself? You're celebrities. Why, I'd even be proud to take you to Hollywood and put you in one of my pictures.
Well, how does that suit you now, Dancer?
Oh, who, me?
Yeah, I'm sorry. We have to get to Hollywood.
Well, for heaven's sake, look, I just simply think I go out of my mind, if you mean me, because I can just see myself now prancing along the boulevard with a neon harness and an upswept tail do.
Well, what do you say, reindeer? Are you going back to work?
Well, I'll never be able to thank you enough, Hoppy. Never.
Well, Santa, it's mighty hard to keep everybody happy. Reindeer are no different from folks. We all have to give a little, and that way we'll all get a lot out of life.
Hop along, you said it, and you said it good. You've saved Christmas for all of us kids. Santa Claus rides again. Could I say a few words over the radio to my pal?
Yes, I think I know what you have in mind. Go ahead.
Thanks, Bergie. Hey, Skinny, are you listening? Did you get that football you wanted? And Skyler and Horseface? I hope Santa Claus comes through for you. I'll see you all later at our house. Bergen's fixed up everything swell for the party. I'll say this, when it comes to parents, I could have done a lot worse. And you know, I'm kind of glad that he's my family. Well, so long, kids. And as Bergen tells me every Christmas, when you count your presents, count your blessings, too. Merry Christmas, everybody. Merry Christmas.
African drums are talking. The drums bring you a story of Africa, that dark continent of jungle, swamp, and arid veldt, of native intrigue and unbelievable mystery. Listen. Professor Anton Edwards, while traveling in French Equatorial Africa with his daughter Lorna, comes into possession of a preserved human head that talks. Jack Martin, the professor's assistant, joins them. The two men were discussing the talking head when a scream from Lorna brings them running to her tent.
Confound it. Where's that flashlight?
Here's one, sir. Lorna's not here. Her bed's empty.
Great heavens. What's become of the girl?
What in the name of...
Oh, take no notice of that, Jack. It's only the head in the other tent. But where... There she is.
Where, sir?
There. Walking across the open space. Look. Come on, we'll have to hurry.
What's the matter with her? Her arms are stretched out as though...
Wait a minute. Don't go too close. See her feet. They're bare. She's in her sleeping suit.
Good gad. She's sleepwalking.
Yes. We daren't wake her abruptly. Heavens, I didn't know Lorna was subject to things like this. Possibly the change of climate has something to do with it.
Has she ever been known to wander this way before, sir?
Well, not to my knowledge. I thought she was perfectly normal.
Who's that on the other side of the clearing? There's someone watching her.
Looks like Nguru. Why must I?
What's he doing out here at this time? He ought to be bedded down.
Don't worry about him. He must have seen her start out. He's probably following to see that no harm comes to her. He's really very attached to her. I've had Nguru for years, Jack. You know that.
Well, he's an ugly-looking customer in any case. I'd hate to make an enemy of him.
Don't worry about him. I'd trust Nguru anywhere.
Look. She stopped.
Seems to be talking to someone.
But there's no one near her.
I know. She's just dreaming it, that's all. Let's get closer and hear what she's saying.
Let's get her back to bed, sir. If we wait too long, she'll be down with fever in the morning.
Not yet. I want to hear what she's saying. Might give us some idea as to what's worrying her.
But there's something I want to tell you, sir.
Let it wait, Jack. I don't want to miss anything she says.
But it's about Lorna. She told me tonight that she felt as if something out in the bush was calling to her.
Huh?
Something that gave her an almost overpowering impulse to walk out of camp alone.
She did, Great Scott, when did she tell you this?
Tonight, when you went to see if her quarters were properly set. You know what some witch doctors can do with hypnosis. Let's get her back quickly, sir. I don't like this business.
All right, only it's imperative to avoid any kind of a shock. Whatever we do, we must not wake her abruptly.
Why wake her at all? Can't we guide her gently back to her tent?
Yes, that's better still. Come on. No, wait. Wait a minute. He's talking again. Listen.
Out of the ageless vault of time, my beloved, have I come to fulfill the promise made to thee when the sun's light rested upon the altar and the sacrificial knife of the priest returned its fire. So were we sent into the oblivion of the ages to learn
Talking about the ancient sun worshippers. Must have read that paragraph somewhere. Do you recognize it, Jack?
No, I don't, sir. Let's get her back. I can't stand this.
All right. Here's Nguru coming across. Take her gently by the arm, Jack. That's fine. We'll take her back in a minute. That you, Nguru?
Aye, Buana. Devil spirit, him come from hill. Look plenty for missy.
What's that? What does he mean, devil spirit?
He says a devil has come from the mountain and cast longing eyes on Lorna. Asante, Nguru. Now, tell me what your eyes have seen.
Nguru see nothing. Knows him smell 'em devil plenty.
Lord, this gets worse and worse.
All right, Nguru. Get me a rope from the store tent.
Aye, Buana.
Careful, Jack. Let her sink back on the bed gently. That's it.
Good Lord, sir. I'm worried stiff.
Well, it's nothing to worry about. Quite a natural thing at times. Sleepwalking is caused by excitement or mental stress of some kind. Oh, got the rope, Nguru?
Aye, Buana. Rope him no good for devil spirit talk.
You mean even if we tie her down, she'll walk out if she wants to?
Aye, little Buana. Devil him call, she go.
Not after I get through tying her up.
We'll give her plenty of room. Not too tight, Jack.
No, sir. I'm taking the rope around her bed several times. There's enough play for a natural turn of the body, but she'll never get out of it unless the rope is cut.
Yes, I see. Well, that looks safe enough.
No spirit I've ever met would get her out of that. She seems to be sleeping very heavily. Do you think she's been hypnotized, sir?
No, you see, her eyes react to touch. Yes, come on, she's safe enough now at all events. Let's go to the other tent and finish our talk. Thanks for watching, Nguru. Asante Sana. You can sleep now.
Aye, Buana.
Hadn't we better place a guard outside here?
Oh, no, there's no need, Jack. She's all right now, I'm sure. We'll only be a few feet from her.
But I still think a guard would be the safest
Now,
plan.
Don't worry, my boy. Nguru is always on Gazi. He never seems to sleep. The slightest unnatural sound in camp at night brings him up as silently as a shadow.
Yes, he seems to move just like a cat.
And he moves just as quickly, too. Oh, Whiskey and soda?
Yes, thanks. I need one after that. What about this body servant of yours, sir, Nguro? He certainly is a tough-looking customer.
Yeah, Nguro is all right. And he's not exactly a body servant, you know. I've spoken of him several times at home, if you remember.
Yes, but you've never really described him properly. He's as big as you are and fully as strong, which you must admit is unusual.
Yeah, he's a fine specimen of warrior. He's a prince in his own right. Blue blood through and through. I've had Nguro for years. We did quite a lot of Secret Service work together for the British government during the war in German East Africa. He saved my life on more than one occasion.
Does he always carry that great spear with him?
Never lets it out of his sight. He calls it the Snake Woman.
The Snake Woman? Why is that?
Because just one kiss means death. That is, unless he wants to prolong the operation.
Good Lord, does he do that sort of thing often?
I've only seen him do it once, when he fought the man who ran off with his wife. And he cut him into ribbons before delivering the final thrust.
Well, it's nice to know he has some sort of feeling anyway. Since I've met him, the expression on his face hasn't changed one jot.
It never does, under any circumstance. But I'd trust Nguro with my life at any time. Now, let's get back to talking about that talking head, Jack.
Yes?
I wanted to tell you that the chatter of the head is not at all gibberish, as you probably think. There's sense to what it says.
Good heavens, sir. How can the thing talk if it's severed from the body? There's some trick to it.
No, I don't think so. And I have sense enough not to bother about that part of the phenomenon. What I'm interested in is what the head says.
Do you mean the thing actually speaks words?
Yes. Jack, my boy, we're on the verge of something that's going to make the scientific world sit up and take notice.
In what way, sir?
This head speaks the language of the lost Atlantis, or as near to it as anything can be.
But there's never been a language discovered that was attributed to the Atlanteans.
No, as far as you know, there hasn't. But you know what my hobby has been for the last 20 years?
Oh, yes, ancient languages.
Very well. About 20 years ago, on my second trip to Africa, I was with Lamberti then.
That's the man you exposed for fraud, isn't it?
Yes. Well, we came upon some writings on submerged rocks off the coast. These things set me to thinking. I'd come across other similar markings in other parts of the world. And with all the data I'd kept, I use the word advisedly, I concocted a language that might have been used by the perpetrators of those writings.
Yes, I know, sir. You've often spoken of it at home.
Now, the old witch doctor who gave me the head spoke of a legend that the spirit of the head would never rest until it was laid in the arms of its own people. I sat with the head hour after hour. Some of the sounds it was making seemed familiar. Then it came to me. It was speaking the language I'd been working on.
But all this sounds so frightfully fantastic.
I don't care whether it's fantastic or not, Jack. This whole thing leads to the native legend of the perfect race of people. You know the myth of the golden race? Superb, perfect men and women.
Yes, of course, I've heard it. But I've always taken it with a pinch of salt.
Well, possibly you'll take it with a pinch of something else after I've found what I'm seeking.
What do you mean?
Just this. It's well known that the Atlanteans held a secret, natural formula, that kept their bodies in perfect health. And if this head belongs to one of that lost race of people, it's going to lead us to the place where they are. Because its chatter, according to the language I've been working on, is nothing but directions of travel.
But good heavens, sir, would you trust yourself in this wilderness to a guide like that?
If what I'm after is at the end of it, I'd trust myself to a headless body, let alone a bodiless head.
But it's taking a great risk.
But don't you see, Jack? That's where the native legend comes from. The head won't rest until it's back with its own people, and it's giving directions all the time how to get there.
Yes, of course, but you'll excuse me for asking you, sir, especially just now, but have you been taking your quinine regularly?
I see. Well, Jack, if you're going to take that attitude, I'll be forced to leave you behind and go on alone.
Then in that case, I'm afraid you'll have to put up with my company. Because madness or no madness, I'm staying with you.
Well, that's more like you, Jack. I knew you would. That's why I sent for you to join me. You needn't worry about my health. My temperature is perfectly normal and my pulse quite regular.
Nevertheless, I think I'll keep an eye on you. Oh, by the way, we've forgotten all about Lorna. Hadn't we better go and see if she's all right?
Yes, we'll go now. Hello, Nguro. Really, old warrior. What is it?
Juana, devil he speak. Missy, Chico Popalava. Come.
What's that?
He says the devil called and Lorna's gone. Come on, Jack. Lorna's tent, quick.
I'm with you, sir. Confound that tent rope.
Where's the flashlight? Have you got one, Jack?
Yes, here you are. Great heavens.
She's gone. Lorna's gone and...
The ropes on the bed are still intact.
They haven't been moved.
Campbell Soup presents George Burns and Gracie Allen with Tony Martin and Ken Niles and Henry King and his music. Beloved. In just a minute, George and Gracie will be with us. Meanwhile, this is Ken Niles to tell you about the soup sensation of the year, my special favorite, Campbell's Chicken Soup. And you'll know what a sensation it has made, since it's been so greatly improved, when I tell you that women all across the country are buying 3 times as much of it as they did only a short while ago. Am I enthusiastic about Campbell's Chicken Soup? Ah, you bet I am. And I'll say this. You'll find that it lives up to everything I've ever said about it. Its delicious home-like flavor, its slowly simmered broth that fairly glistens with golden chicken richness, the pieces of tender chicken meat in it, and the snowy rice and delicate seasoning. It's a fact I've never known any person to be disappointed in Campbell's Chicken Soup, no matter how high they set their expectations. So set your expectations high. Ask your grocer tomorrow for the soup sensation of the year, Campbell's Chicken Soup. And now tonight, Gracie Allen, I'm afraid, is going to honor the city of New Orleans. So here they are, George and Gracie.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, Gracie, say how do.
How do, George?
Well, now say something to the boys.
Oh, what do you want me to say to them?
Well, why don't you say something you think the boys would like?
Something the boys would like.
Yeah.
Boys, Gene Harlow.
Oh, thanks, Gracie. Thank you. Now, I think you want to say hello to New Orleans.
Why?
Why? Ken Niles just told the people that you were going to say something about New Orleans.
Oh, don't listen to Ken Niles. That's just gossip. And gossip is nothing but idle rumors. And idle rumors are rumors that can't pay their room rent. And room rent is
Gracie, are you talking about rumors or rumors?
Rumors are rumors.
Rumors.
Rumors. Say, that reminds me. Why are they making such a fuss over Simone?
Simone?
Yeah.
Well, she has 2 names that sound exactly alike.
Oh, yeah. What about the 3 gray sheep?
Tony, I need a little help.
George, don't count on me tonight. I'm in the middle of a picture, and talk about hard work. Do you know that from 9 o'clock this morning until 7 o'clock tonight, I've done nothing but kiss Alice Faye?
Well, that's nice work if you can get it.
I don't mean that kissing Alice Faye isn't swell, but it's just work for me during the day and it takes all the romance out of me for my date tonight.
And who have you got a date with tonight?
Alice Faye.
Alice Faye, retakes, eh?
Well, I don't mind, Tony. If you've got a date with Alice Faye tonight, you just keep it.
Yeah.
Of course, I was going to ask you to take me home tonight, but I don't expect you to break your date with Alice Faye. But I do want to tell you that our sponsor phoned me, and he said, Gracie, if you're not happy with your new singer, just say the word and we'll get rid of him. That's all.
That's all. Well, Tony, it looks like you're on a spot.
Oh, well, Gracie, I haven't exactly got a date with Alice Faye.
Oh, well, now, far be me fellas to break up any date, Tony.
Far be me from it.
You just keep your date with Alice Faye, especially tonight, while you still got a salary coming in.
Gracie, when did the sponsor phone you?
Oh, you don't have to worry, George. He thinks you're swell.
You're sure he's going to let me stay on the program?
Oh, sure. As a matter of fact, you can even go out with Alice Faye and nothing will happen.
Thanks. Gracie, I have an idea that maybe you like Tony Martin.
You think of the silliest things, George.
Don't I?
Yes. Why, I was out with a very adorable man last night.
Is that so? I suppose it's some relative?
No, not yet. It's Clark Gable.
Not yet? Clark Gable. Well, you were out with Clark Gable last night?
Well, it's better than staying home alone.
I think so.
Well, anyway, here's what happened. I was at a party, minding my own business, and Clark Gable came over and he said, are you Gracie Allen? And I said, yes. And he said, how about sitting on my lap, Gracie? And I figured he wasn't sitting on it, and I had to sit someplace.
So you sat down on his lap?
Yes, and then my mother hollered. She said, Gracie, get up, get up.
Did you get up?
Oh, yeah, I jumped up and I had breakfast, and I said to my mother, I said, why did you wake me up, Mama? You spoiled a beautiful dream, I told her.
You said that to your mother? Oh, you dreamt you were out with Clark Gable.
Sure.
Did you ever dream you went out with me?
No, I never have nightmares.
Well, that's a pretty thought.
Gracie, as long as you're dreaming, how about dreaming I'm taking you to the Brown Derby restaurant tonight?
Oh, thanks, Tony, but that place is too crowded.
You can't dream you're going to the Brown Derby restaurant because it's too crowded?
Oh, yeah, I had to stand up in bed 2 hours the other night waiting to get a table.
Well, you ought to make your reservations before you go to bed. Either that or go to bed earlier so that you could get there sooner.
Well, that's a good idea. You know, once I dreamt I was invited to the White House to visit President Roosevelt, but I didn't go.
Why?
Well, I wasn't dressed properly for it.
I see. Well, you ought to go to some exclusive foyer in your dreams and get yourself a fur coat.
Oh, I saw a beautiful mink coat last night that I liked.
Was it a dream?
Oh, I'll say it was a dream, and only $2,500, too.
Well, when you go to sleep tonight, just dream that I bought it for you.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
You know, Daddy Dempsey got a pearl necklace for me the other night.
Is that so?
Yes, and then the dream cops came and arrested him.
Nice. Took him away in a little dream wagon.
Yes. Oh, and that was about 6 months ago, and Daddy is still dreaming.
In bed, huh?
No, in jail.
In jail, that's your daddy. That's
Gracie, don't you ever dream about me?
Oh, sure, Henry. I dreamt about you last night.
You did?
Mm-hmm. I dreamt I was out dancing with you, but when I woke up, I discovered it was my little nephew pounding my feet with a hammer.
Sing, Tony. Come on, Gracie.
we're apart. And that laugh that wrinkles your nose touches my foolish heart. Never, never change. Keep that perfect charm. Won't you please arrange? Oh, I love you. Just the way you look my foolish heart. Love, please never, never change. Keep that breathless charm. Won't you please arrange it? 'Cause I love you just the way you look
Martin of 20th Century Fox singing The Way You Look Tonight. Well, that was swell, Tony.
Well, I'm glad you liked it, George. Say, Gracie, we're honoring New Orleans tonight, remember. So far, you haven't said anything about it.
Well, Ken, if you think I haven't said anything about New Orleans so far, just wait till you hear this. Ready, boys?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Now, honors. A toast to that great, gigantic, colossal, tremendous, lovely, quaint little New Orleans. A salute to New Orleans. It's 3,000 miles from Seattle. It's 2,000 miles from Los Angeles. It's 15 hours from Dallas. It's 16 days from Christmas. And when you hear the time, it will be 16 minutes to 9 o'clock.
Wait a minute. So that's for New Orleans?
Yes, it's too
Quiet.
Gracie, did you know that New Orleans is one of the healthiest cities in the world?
Oh, not anymore, Tony. I understand people are dying there this year that never died before.
Yes, and people are dying in Boston and Seattle, too.
Yeah, and they aren't anywhere near New Orleans either.
You know, I know one thing.
Yeah, that's very funny, George.
Well, I haven't seen it.
Oh, yes, you have.
Oh, Gracie, here's a telegram that just came for you.
Thanks. Well, just listen to this. Gracie Allen, pardon my southern accent, but you're nuts. Signed, the Mayor of New Orleans. Oh, isn't that cute, George? He hardly knows me either.
That's what you think. Ken, before the people of New Orleans smash their radios, will you say something sensible about the city?
Oh, I'm glad to. New Orleans, which is sometimes called the Crescent City, is the largest seaport in the Gulf of Mexico. I can see it now, surrounded by its fields of cotton.
Oh, Ken, you don't get cotton out of a field.
No?
You get it out of a little blue box with a red cross on it.
Yeah, but where does the cotton come from?
From the drugstore.
You have to raise cotton first.
Our drugstore raises cotton.
Your drugstore raises cotton?
Yes, just raise those little 10-cent packages to 20 cents.
Go ahead, Ken.
New Orleans has...
Wait a minute.
Oh, quiet, everybody. Tony is going to talk. What is it, Tony?
Well, my great-grandfather owned the first cotton gin in Louisiana.
But Gracie doesn't know what cotton gin is.
Well, my daddy probably does. He drinks anything.
I see. He drinks cotton gin, huh?
Well, sure. When you drink cotton gin, you get a white nose instead of a red nose.
Please, Ken.
And New Orleans has 3 fine universities, Loyola, New Orleans, and Tulane.
Tulane? Well, that's my very favorite saying. It's one of the oldest
Tulane
sayings.
is your favorite saying?
Yes, you know that old saying, it's never too late, Tulane.
It's never too late, Tulane?
Mm-hmm.
Gracie, another telegram.
Well,
you've got this week.
telegram.
Yes, maybe it's a telegram.
Oh, it is a telegram.
It's a telegram?
My. It's from the grocers of New Orleans. Oh, listen to this. Gracie Allen, when Major Bowes out of New Orleans, we grocers sold 40,000 cans of coffee. Stop. Tonight, with you honoring New Orleans, we grocers sold 80,000 cans of coffee. Well, now that ought to show Major Bowes who's who on the radio.
Sound a bit like an owl. It isn't who's who on the radio. You mean who's through on the radio.
George, we're selling Campbell's chicken soup.
That's what you think.
Oh, I think that's the nicest wire that's ever been sent to me. I wonder what it means.
It means they want us to play a little game where you jump into the Mississippi River and pretend you're swimming, and after you drown, I pretend I'm sorry.
Oh, now why doesn't Tony say things like that to me?
Say that, Tony. Go ahead, Ken.
Oh, thanks. New Orleans has some of the most historical buildings in America.
Well, that's what I hear, too, Ken. Now, I'd like to see those beautiful drapes in the Saratoga Street Jail.
Beautiful drapes in the Saratoga Street Jail?
Well, that's what it said in the guidebook for tourists. It said the Saratoga Street Jail is noted for its hangings.
I suppose your daddy would feel right at home in that jail.
Oh, sure. He'd soon get onto the ropes.
Well, that certainly is news to me.
I don't get it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Henry King and his orchestra will play Sweetheart, Let's Grow Old Together. Come on, Dick.
Oh, now wait, Henry. George, I forgot the biggest moment in New Orleans history. I was born in New Orleans not so long ago.
I get it, yes. And how many times have I got to remind you that you were born in San Francisco?
Oh, please, George. For tonight's program, I'm getting $100 to say I was born in New Orleans.
And who's paying you the $100?
San Francisco.
Play, Henry.
greatest advertisement for Campbell's Chicken Soup has never been written. It has never been spoken over the radio. It's what women are telling one another about it. And it's this spontaneous, enthusiastic word-of-mouth advertising that accounts for the amazing growth and popularity of this wonderful soup everywhere. Think of it. 3 cans of Campbell's Chicken Soup are being bought today for every one bought a short time ago. That's right, 3 times as much. And here's why. Delicious home flavors. Campbell's use all the good, tender meat of plump chicken. And every woman knows what that means, chicken soup. And don't I know, too? Every delightful spoonful has that deep-down chicken deliciousness that makes everybody want more. And I ought to know because good old-fashioned chicken soup has always been my special favorite. And that's the kind you get every time you ask for Campbell's Chicken Soup. Why not do that tomorrow? Well, I'm a little bit worried. Gracie is standing right here with some more honors for New Orleans.
Oh, why worry, Ken? You know things aren't hardly ever as bad as they seem not to be.
Things aren't hardly ever as bad as they seem not to be?
Yes, Judge, and even if they weren't, it wouldn't be anything to worry about unless they were.
Well, that's as clear as the Mississippi mud.
Gracie, another telegram.
Oh, there we are. Who is it from?
Oh, Western Union or Postal. Who else could it be from?
Read it.
Oh, listen to this, boys. We, the citizens of New Orleans, have been listening to your program honoring our city, and we can hardly wait to hear the finish so we can listen to Freddie Allen. Oh, isn't that nice of them, George? They even like Freddie Allen, too.
So does Portland Hopper.
Well, I don't blame her. He's sweet enough to kiss.
Who, Freddie Allen?
No, Tony Martin.
Look, Gracie, you don't ask a man for a hug and a kiss.
No?
Now, nice girls don't do that.
Oh.
Hug and a kiss. Even if you want a hug and a kiss, you've got to be subtle. Sort of hint at it so that the audience doesn't understand it.
Oh, a hint.
Yeah.
Tony.
Yes, Gracie.
Tony, if you're tired, you can rest your lips against mine.
Well, that's being subtle.
Listen, Gracie, don't think I'm temperamental. I'd really like to kiss you, but I'm just not in the mood for kissing anybody.
Stop it. We're supposed to be honoring New Orleans.
Oh, now, George, please, that isn't nice. You shouldn't be rude to Tony, especially when this might be his last night on the program. Mm-hmm.
Last night?
Mm-hmm.
Gracie, Tony Martin just came to work on this program.
Well, you better get to work then.
Well, I always thought that whoever I kissed would be my business.
Well, then you better do what I ask you, Tony, if you expect to stay in business, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I'm sort of catching on.
Gracie, why should Tony Martin kiss you?
Oh, that's right, George. Why should he kiss me? After all, who am I compared with Alice Faye?
Yes.
I don't amount to anything. I'm only an insignificant little girl who hires and fires the singers. That's all.
Oh, that's all, Tony. That's all.
Gracie, how about me? I'll kiss you.
Oh, thanks, Henry, but you better kiss George. He hires the orchestra leaders.
Look, Gracie, I don't like to hear you talk, but as long as you're going to talk, say something about New Orleans. I thought I'd remind you.
Oh, all right. Remind me sometime.
I'll remind you now. How about a guest of honor?
Oh, thanks, George, but I just ate.
Oh, I don't know.
Say, I've got an idea. Maybe there's somebody in the audience from New Orleans.
Oh, yeah, maybe there's somebody in the audience from New Orleans. That's a great idea. Ken, why do I have to think of everything?
Quiet. Thanks, Ken. Ladies and gentlemen, if there's anybody in the audience from New Orleans that would like to come up on the platform as our guest, we'd be delighted.
I'm from New Orleans, mister. Oh, George, step and fetch it.
Step and fetch it. Would you mind stepping up to the microphone, please?
So, no.
So you're from New Orleans, eh?
Yes, sir. I was born and raised in New Orleans, and my mother and father were born there before me.
Well, if they're your mother and father, they'd have to be born before you.
Well, will you tell us something about New Orleans? What street were you born on?
Tchoupitoulas Street.
What street?
Tchoupitoulas. Tchoupitoulas.
Stop, Esther.
Gracie, Tchoupitoulas is a very famous thoroughfare.
Oh, it sounds very romantic. If I ever go to New Orleans, I'd like to rent a little rose-covered cottage on how do you say that?
Tchoupitoulas. Tchoupot.
No, Tchoupot. Oh, no. H-O-P-A-double-T. No. A-S-H-O-P.
No, wait a minute.
T-A-H-O-P. Miss, why don't you move over on Canal Street?
I think so, too.
I don't know your name, miss, but I'm glad you stepped up here this evening. You know, I've always wanted to meet a real Southern belle.
Oh, mister. Tony, why don't you give the bell a ring sometime?
Never mind. Miss, what is the population of New Orleans?
Well, I don't know exactly. Being a river and seaport city, New Orleans has a great floating population.
A floating population? Mm-hmm. Well, I bet a lot of them can swim on their stomachs, too.
I wouldn't be a bit surprised.
New Orleans makes a lot of friends with its hospitality. It has some very fine restaurants, and, I know you'd love our Mardi Gras.
Well, I never tasted any, but I just bet it's delicious.
Yes. Shut my zipper.
Well, George, here's another guest of honor that came up from the audience.
Oh, well, this way, please. You talk right...
Do I talk right in here, mister?
Yeah, right there.
Well, now, if I do, you just tell me.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, of course, I've never spoken on radio before, and I'm awfully nervous.
I see that. Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I've never talked before an audience before. I never talk very much at home. I'm kind of a man of few words.
Yeah, a few thousand.
Now, mister...
Yes, sir, I was just coming to that, Mr. Burns.
Yes,
Now, being New Orleans is a seaport and a river city, it has a great floating population. And it makes a lot of friends with its hospitality and has many fine restaurants. And you'll just love our Mardi Gras.
Wait a minute. The little lady here just told us all of that.
Yes, sir. That's where I learned it.
Well, our program is coming to an end, and I want to thank you people very much for coming up here tonight.
Well, if you really want to thank us, Mr. Burns, here's the way I figured out you can do it. When I get back to New Orleans, I'd like to have something to show that I've really been to Hollywood. And I thought maybe you and Miss Allen, could give me something that I could take back home as a souvenir.
Well, mister, how would you like a nice live movie star?
A real live movie star?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if y'all ain't kidding me, the show would be make me very happy.
Well, it sure would make me very happy, too.
Gracie, what live movie star are you going to give this man that'll make you both so happy?
Alice Faye.
Oh, Alice Faye. Henry, the music.
My sugar takes me with a grain of salt. I never know where I stand. He never takes me seriously or even holds my hand. My sugar takes me with a grain of salt. He won't believe what I say. He's acting so mysteriously. He's got so far away. My love affair gets me nowhere. Oh, now repeat that is bittersweet. My sugar takes me with a grain of salt. Why doesn't he realize I love him all so seriously? Why doesn't he get wise? I try so hard to please my sugar, but it's an awful task. I ask him, won't you? Do you, don't you? But every time I ask, my sugar takes me with a grain of salt. He treats me like I was lost. He plays around so scandalously, I feel like I will burst. My sugar takes me with a grain of salt. You think I was just 14. He acts succeeding personally, like there's a wall between. I've got no altitude, no solitude, just solitude. I wish you had a bit of moral turpitude. My sugar takes me with a grain of salt. Why doesn't he realize I love you so magnanimously? Why doesn't he surprise?
Every year, we hear a lot about Christmas fields, one of the finest causes for raising funds to help sick, needy people. But many of us don't think to do something about it until it's too late. This year, won't you do just this one thing? See that every Christmas letter and package you send carries a Christmas seed. The makers of those fine Campbell soups invite you to listen in and laugh with George Burns and Gracie Allen again next Wednesday. And meanwhile, remember that you can have the finest chicken soup you ever tasted simply by asking for Campbell's Chicken Soup. You'll find it to be the delicious, nourishing, old-fashioned kind.
Well, Gracie, say goodnight to everybody.
Oh, and wait, Judge. I forgot to read them my Proverbs.
Proverbs?
Mm-hmm.
You mean proverbs?
Well, I know, but this is a proverb in verse. It's my proverb.
So it's a proverb.
Yes.
Well, let's hear it.
All right, Proverbs. Although it's very foolish, I've often heard it said, you can drive a horse to water, but a pencil must be lead.
You made that up. I can see that.
And so, girls, don't drive your husband to eat. Let nature take its course. Just give him Campbell's chicken soup, and he'll eat just like a horse. That's New Orleans.
Good night, all.
This is the Columbia Broadcasting System. Your station is KHJ, Don Lee, Los Angeles. Time signal courtesy Schaefer Pen and Pencil Company. Settle that perplexing Christmas gift problem with a genuine Schaefer dry-proof fountain pen desk set. A gift that will delight anyone. There are over 100 Schaefer desk set designs, a style and price to fit every budget. Only $5 up. The tone indicates 1 minute and 15 seconds past 9.
And now, the Hall of Fantasy. Welcome to the Hall of Fantasy. Welcome to the series of radio dramas dedicated to the supernatural, the unusual, and the unknown. Come with me, my friends. We shall descend to the world of the unknown and forbidden, down to the depths where the veil of time is lifted, and the supernatural reigns as king. Come with me and listen to the tale of the Black Figurine of Death.
Is that you, David? Yes, I heard a shot.
So did we.
I thought it was one of you.
It was Sawyer.
He came out late tonight. I found him out in the mausoleum about an hour ago.
Here's his room.
Try the door. It's open.
He's on the floor.
Is he? Yes. He's dead.
In just a moment, the Hall of Fantasy will present the Black Figurine of Death. And now for our story. An original tale of fantasy by Richard Thorne entitled The Black Figurine of Death.
Through all the years of man's existence, no matter what he has learned or been taught from generation to generation, still he carries in the innermost depths of his mind a certain fear of the darkness. A fear of the night, which is somehow associated with death, and which in actuality is the fear of death itself. Each of us in his lifetime will probably come in contact with some psychic phenomenon, either directly or indirectly through the experience of a relative or acquaintance. An experience never to be forgotten. And about such an experience is my story tonight. I was there with the others the night he died. We stood at the foot of the bed, Joyce and Harold and I. Amos Jansen's head was cushioned on a pillow, and in his hand he held a little figurine. You sent for us, Uncle Amos?
Of course I did. Otherwise you wouldn't be here in my room, Harold.
No, Uncle Amos is no...
Be quiet. Be quiet, all of you. Ah, you're here too, David.
Yes, sir,
I didn't ask for a speech, young man. I'll do the talking if you don't mind. I must speak to all of you while I still have time.
Why don't you rest, Uncle Amos?
Rest? You'd like to see that, wouldn't you, Joyce? David? Harold? What? No answer from any of you? I know why you can't say anything. Because it's the truth.
Now, see here, Uncle Amos.
Don't listen to me, young man. These last years of my life, you've all left me alone. You've had more important things to do. That is, until tonight. Tonight you're all here because you know I'm dying. You've come here like a pack of wolves, waiting for me to die, waiting for your chance to inherit my estate.
Oh, that's not true, Uncle Amos.
Oh, isn't it? I think it is. Don't worry. You'll inherit the estate, the three of you. But in the end, you'll wish you never had.
What do you mean, Uncle Amos?
That though I die, you'll see me again. All of you who've hated me. And you'll know of my presence when you see this.
Why, that's just a little figurine, Uncle Amos.
You'll wish you'd never seen it before I'm through. You'll wish that you'd never known me, that you'd never been born. Before you die, you'll all learn what fear is. You'll learn how it feels to be alone.
Uncle Amos.
He's dead, Joyce.
Oh, no. Oh, no, he can't be.
He's dead, all right.
What's that?
Something dropped out of his hand. Why? It's the little figurine. The little figurine lay there on the floor. It had fallen from Uncle Amos's hand just as he died. And when it struck the floor, it had broken into 3 pieces. I picked them up and held them in my hand. The pieces fitted together perfectly, much like the pieces of a jigsaw puzzle. It was a queer little figure, its arms raised in supplication, a look of fear upon its face. There was something frightening about it. 3 days later, Uncle Amos was buried in the family mausoleum at the north end of the estate. A week after that, we had gathered again in the library of the old house with Carl Sawyer, the executor of the estate.
As you know, your uncle appointed me as executor of the estate and left instructions that the 3 main heirs, 10 days following his demise, be gathered together in this house for a reading of the will.
You told us that earlier, Mr. Sawyer.
So I did. Are you all seated comfortably?
Quite comfortably, Mr. Sawyer.
It's a rather long will, you know. Now, I shall begin. I, Amos Johnson, being of sound mind and body, do make, ordain, and publish this instrument as my last will and...
Mr. Sawyer, why don't you just tell us about the will?
That's a rather unusual procedure, David.
Well, David's right, Mr. Sawyer. It'll save a lot of time and trouble.
Well, perhaps you're right. Let me see. Now, referring to the disposition of the monies and property, it's to be divided equally amongst the 3 of you. Of course, there are certain gifts to the servants.
Naturally.
Yes, naturally. There is a considerable amount of money to be divided, even after taxes. Each of you will be independent for life.
I can't understand Uncle Amos willing us the entire estate. The night he died...
Contrary to what you may think, your Uncle Amos was really quite fond of you.
Is that all to the will, Mr. Sawyer?
No. Of course, you realize that if one of you were to die, his or her share of the estate would be divided between the 2 remaining heirs. And there is one other proviso which I cannot quite understand.
Yes?
Your uncle made one condition referring to the disposition of the monies. Let me see if I can find that. Oh, yes. Here it is. May I read it, please? The heirs are to reside in the family house on the estate for a period of 1 year. If this is not done, their claim to the estate is to be nullified, and they are to be left without a penny. Unfortunately, they were present very infrequently during the last years of my life.
That's a rather strange provision.
Yes, isn't it? However, as executor of your uncle's will, it is up to me to make sure the provisions are carried out. And believe me, I feel a deep sense of duty to your late uncle.
The 4 of us discussed the will until the early hours of the morning. We persuaded Sawyer to spend the night with us, to return to the city in the morning. The house became quite silent, and the only sound I heard was the ticking of the clock on my dresser. I wondered about the provision of the will in which Uncle Amos ordered that we make our residence in his house. I was lying awake in bed thinking of that when... Standing outside my door in the hallway was the housekeeper.
Mr. David?
Yes, Emily?
I found this in my bedroom tonight.
Oh, let me see it.
Here.
Mm-hmm. It's a little black figurine, just like the one my uncle had. You can have it back now, Emily.
It frightened me, so I came to you, Mr. David.
How do you think it got there, Emily?
Well, There's something strange going on in this house, Mr. David. And I have an idea. I know who's in bed.
Who's talking out there? Oh, it's you, David. And Emily. You're up rather late, aren't you?
Yes, Mr. Sawyer. I was just going to bed, if you'll excuse me.
Good night, Emily.
Good night, sir. I'll see you in the morning.
Well, I suppose I'd better get back to bed, too. Good night, David.
Good night, Mr. Sawyer. I watched him go back into his room. Then I turned and went back into mine. Emily had been on the point of saying something to me. Something that was important enough to her to make a special trip to my room. I got back into bed. Wondered what she'd wanted to tell me. Little by little, sleep clouded my brain. And I was half asleep.
Back now to our story. An original tale of fantasy by Richard Thorne entitled The Black Figurine of Death.
I had been just on the point of falling asleep. Sawyer, I heard someone scream.
So did I, David.
Harold, I heard something.
I know I did. There's David and Mr. Sawyer. Maybe they can tell us what happened. Did you hear anything?
It was a scream. First, I thought it might have been you, Joyce.
I think it came from the servants' quarters.
Emily.
What did you say, David?
It'll keep. Come on.
Do you think it was the housekeeper, David?
It has to be.
Maybe she was just startled or something.
Well, we'll see in a moment.
No, that's her room, just down the hall.
I hope it's nothing serious.
It was serious enough to make her scream.
Emily! Emily, is anything wrong?
Well, try the door, David.
Right. It's unlocked.
The light's on in there.
She's not in bed. She's...
Oh, on the floor.
Maybe she fainted.
No. She's dead.
And look, right beside her, there's a little broken black figurine.
Though the police came out and went over everything, there were no clues to follow. They said that Emily had been strangled, but there was nothing to indicate who might have done it. The police continued their investigation for almost a month. But at the end of that time, all they could write down in their case book was murder unsolved. One evening, about 6 weeks after Emily's death, Harold, Joyce, and I were in the living room.
The police said they'd never be able to find out who did it unless something new turned up. And it probably won't.
Oh, the whole thing frightens me. I still remember Uncle Amos's dying words. That though I die, you'll see me again. All of you who have hated me. And you'll know of my presence when you see this. Oh, it makes me shudder every time I think of it.
I've been thinking about what he said, too, Joyce. I wonder if he could come back.
You mean come back after death?
Yes.
Don't be a fool, Harold. Once a man dies, he's dead.
Is he? I'm not so sure of
You
that.
shouldn't talk that way, Harold. It's frightening.
Would you come out with me to the mausoleum, Dave?
Why? When I came in?
You probably weren't looking over there. I wasn't either.
Another little black figurine. Broken just like the others. It gave me an eerie sensation. The little figure was broken into 3 pieces. I looked at Harold, and he seemed to be as afraid as I was. We locked up the mausoleum again and went back to the house. By that time, I began to wonder if perhaps Uncle Amos was striking back at us from beyond the grave. We said goodnight about 11 and retired to our rooms. I couldn't get to sleep. I'd fall into a half doze and then snap out of it again. I felt as if someone were watching me. That there were unseen eyes in the dark waiting for me to fall asleep. I knew it was only my imagination, yet that feeling would not go away. About 3 o'clock, I got out of bed. I decided to return to the mausoleum. As I went out the front door, I noticed a light drizzle had sprung up. Something drew me toward the mausoleum, a compulsion, an inner force over which I had absolutely no control. I walked slowly up the gravel walk leading to the mausoleum, not even noticing the light rain which fell on me. When I was close enough to see the doorway, I received a distinct shock. For the door was open, and there was a circle of light behind it. I walked to the door. I tried to get through the door quietly. I jarred it a little, and the noise made the man inside whirl around. In his hand, he held a gun.
David! What are you doing here?
I might ask you the same question, Mr. Sawyer.
Back now to our story. An original tale of fantasy by Richard Thorne entitled The Black Figurine of Death.
I had gone into the mausoleum. Standing there with a gun in his hand was the executor of the estate, Carl Sawyer.
David! What are you doing here?
I might ask you the same question, Mr. Sawyer.
I began to wonder. I don't believe in people coming back after they die, but...
Is that the reason for the gun?
I didn't know what I'd find. I wanted to be safe, that's all. Now that I see it's you, I'll put it back in my pocket. By the way, David, what are you doing out here?
I was restless. Harold thinks everything that's happened has some supernatural significance. All his talk made me nervous.
I see. And do you think that there is something supernatural about the way Emily died?
I don't know, Mr. Sawyer. I just don't know. Sawyer and I returned to the house. I asked him to spend the remainder of the night with us. Besides, I wanted to keep an eye on him. I didn't feel much like sleeping, so I went down to the library, picked out a book, and sat down to read.
David?
Yes?
Mr. Sawyer told me you were down here. What's the matter?
I can't sleep.
David, I talked to Mr. Sawyer for almost 10 minutes. He said he thinks that you're in back of everything.
What did you say to that?
I told him I thought he was wrong.
Thanks for your confidence, Joyce.
The more I think about it, the more I think that Harold's right in what he says.
You mean that Uncle Amos has come back to life?
Yes.
I'd keep an eye on Sawyer if I were you.
Do you think he's in back of it?
I'm not sure.
But you must have some reason for it.
I went out to the mausoleum tonight about an hour ago. Sawyer was out there. He had a gun in his hand.
He told me he was just curious.
Why should he suddenly get curious at 3 o'clock in the morning?
Well, it does seem rather odd that he...
No!
Yeah.
Stay away from me! I don't want to move! Stay away!
That was Sawyer. Come on.
What couldn't happen again? It just couldn't.
We'll see. Is that you, David? Yes. I heard a shot.
So did we.
I thought it was one of you.
It was Sawyer.
He came out late tonight. I found him out in the mausoleum about an hour ago.
Here's his room.
Try the door. It's open.
On the floor.
Is he? Yes. He's dead. Sawyer lay there on the floor, sprawled in the grotesque position of death. By one outstretched hand was a gun, and by the other, broken into 3 pieces, was a little black figurine. Harold called the police. They said they'd be out as soon as they could. The 3 of us went downstairs to the living room. I was right. It is Uncle Amos who's behind it.
Well, it must be. There's no other explanation.
I told you before that there are certain things which can never be explained. The deaths of Emily and Sawyer prove that.
You don't still think that Sawyer was in back of it, do you, David?
Hardly. Will or no will, I'm leaving here now. I'm not going to stay around here and be killed like the others. I'm going upstairs and back. I'll be down in a while.
I'm going to leave too, David. What about you?
I don't know. I still can't make myself believe.
David!
Stay here.
Oh, no, I'll go with you. Harold's dead.
He has to be all right. Harold!
Where are you?
Harold! Harold, answer us!
His door's open.
He'll be dead. He'll be dead just like the others.
No, Joyce, he's not here.
The mausoleum. Uncle Amos came and took him back to the mausoleum.
We went into Sawyer's room. Harold wasn't there, nor was Sawyer's gun. I supposed that Harold had picked it up on his way to the room. I decided to go out to the mausoleum to see if Joyce was right, to see if Harold's dead body would be found there. Joyce wouldn't remain in the house alone, so together we started out through the rain-filled night.
Why don't we wait until the police come, Dave?
If this is something supernatural, then they wouldn't be able to help us anyway.
David.
What's the matter?
The mausoleum door's open.
You can stay here if you want. I'm going in.
I'll go with you.
Stay close to me, Joyce.
I will. I don't like it in here, David.
Neither do I. But you're going to remain here for some time.
That was Harold's voice.
That's right. But turn the flashlight on. You can see me then.
We thought you were...
Dead? Hardly. But you two will be very soon.
He has a gun, David?
That's right, Sawyer's gun. Planned this very carefully, David. When the police arrive, they'll find the three of you dead, and I'll be wounded. Tell them that Sawyer was behind it all, that he killed both of you out here, and that he came into the house searching for me. It was a fight. The gun went off, and he died.
Then you killed Emily and Sawyer?
Yes. I'm going to kill both of you, too. You don't think I believed all that hokum I fed you about Uncle Amos coming back, do you? Of course not. It served its purpose. And now you'll serve yours.
Harold, look out in back of you.
How stupid do you think I am?
Uncle Amos is coughing. It's slipping.
Get out of the way, Harold.
Get out of the way!
He's dead, Joyce.
Uncle Amos.
What did you say?
Remember what Uncle Amos said when he was dying? That he'd come back and settle with us. The coffin. I wonder if it was just an accident that it slipped out of the crypt. Or whether Uncle Amos really did come back.
Tonight's tale of the unusual, the terrifying, the unknown. Join us again when next we journey down the corridors of the Hall of Fantasy to hear another strange tale of the supernatural. All characters and events portrayed in these programs are fictional, and any similarity to actual events or persons, living or dead, is purely coincidental.
Nearly. He's almost there. One thumb up. Two thumbs up. He's
finished. Do you know what? That wasn't bad chocolate tiffin, Maureen.
Great. Can we start the meeting now, please?
Hold on, Tom. We're yet to hear the verdict. Scores on the doors, Peter?
5, maybe a 6.
Out of 5, I hope.
Ah, I'm afraid.
Right, well, thank you, Mary Berry. Now, I think it's obvious what we need to discuss first.
Yes, these buckets of Allen's have had it. Look at the state of them. Rusting away, missing handles.
I think Tom was referring to why we have the buckets everywhere, Maureen. The leaks in the roof?
What's the latest, Alan?
Yes, it's what Emma said. Water's leaking in.
I know, but what are you doing about it?
I'm trying to fix it as best as I can, but, well, it's hard with two ladders gaffer taped together. What I could really do with is some scaffolding. Oh, and tiles. Yes, tiles as well.
Plum House by Ben Cottam and Paul McKenna. Episode 3, Trust the Trust.
Well, what about the plastic sheet suggestion, you know, as a short-term measure?
We don't have any. Maureen's given me some carrier bags, but to be honest, I can't see that working.
This is an outrage.
He's doing his best, and the zip's bust on his cagoule.
Actually, I've used my cagoule to plug a leak now.
No, I don't mean Alan. I mean how we treat the great cultural treasures of this country. The French wouldn't tolerate water seeping into the Louvre.
Oh, they're very laid back, the French. My sister said the toilets at her campsite were in a terrible state.
If it gets much worse, they'll close us down like they did to Spindleton Hall.
I heard that wasn't anything to do with the roof. Apparently, the Trust sent one of their secret reviewers around the place, and he wrote a really damning report.
As a National Heritage Trust employee on secondment to this museum, can I just say now that we don't send out secret reviewers and shut museums down, honestly. But Emma's right, you know, visitor safety does come first, and we need to get on top of this. So, but how's the public appeal getting on? Emma, could you tip out the collection box?
Right, oh, yep.
Oh.
Well, that's £3.50. Oh, no, hang on, that one's €1.
The French coming to our aid?
£3.50? I spent more than that decorating the collection box.
Very disappointing.
Yeah, you'd think the public would be more generous.
No, I meant the box. She's just stuck a little glitter on the side.
Well, I don't want marks out of 10 again.
3, maybe...
Peter. You know, I'm surprised the public hasn't responded to our story in the local paper.
Especially after that photo. Tom and I look like Gene Kelly and Debbie Reynolds twirling our umbrellas.
I don't think the wet plums headline helped.
Anyway, this is becoming quite the emergency. We need to set up a special roofing committee. Call it the SRC, if you want, to come up with new ways to raise the money.
I like the sound of that, Tom.
Well, it's getting serious, Peter. We can't have the fabric of the museum compromised.
No, I mean the initials SRC. Sounds clandestine. A group of men meeting in the woods late at night. Halt! Who goes there? The SRC. Of course, I know very little of the cloak and dagger world. I often wonder what life would have been like if I'd accepted that offer from MI6.
Peter, will you please just concentrate on the matter at hand?
Sweet Agamemnon, son of Atreus. What on earth, that racket?
It must be a deaf person listening to some music.
God, Alan, you make a better door than a window. Move your big head.
Sorry, Maureen.
There's no need to push, Maureen.
Who's that?
I've never seen him before in my life.
He's getting out. Whistling.
Were we expecting somebody?
Not that I know of.
How strange.
Maybe he's lost. Look, he's got an umbrella.
The plot thickens. Now the plot's thick.
Guys?
What?
So aren't we missing something here? I mean, we are a museum, aren't we? Open to the public. So, you know, think about it. Guys, it's a visitor.
Oh, come on.
I've a good mind to go downstairs and tell him we're busy today. Fancy just turning up out of the blue expecting a royal reception.
We didn't even give one of those to Prince Andrew. Completely forgot he was coming.
Now, we are never too busy to have visitors, Peter. They're always our most immediate priority.
Well, I'd best get back to the gift shop then and put those mouse mats out. We could do with flogging a few of them. They're starting to go mouldy. Might actually attract mice.
Good, Maureen, good. Would you mind giving our visitor a tour, Emma?
Oh, it would be my pleasure. It's been a while since I got to speak to someone from the outside world.
And, well, I guess you'd better crack on with emptying some of those buckets, eh, Alan? They're nearly overflowing.
Oh, wouldn't worry about that. Most of them leak, so the water, it never quite gets to the top.
Right, and so what? The water goes all over the floor instead, does it?
I'll go and find some more buckets.
Good.
I should probably pop to the loo, then make Peter and myself some teas.
You know, no, that's okay. I'll make them. You and Peter are not to leave this room until we've come up with a plan for fixing the roof.
Not even to use the facilities.
Okay, fine. You can have a quick toilet break, but then I need you to come straight back and for both of you to get your thinking caps on. Yeah, and that is not an excuse for two of you to go and find actual hats again. As I said last time, that is just a saying.
I thought I looked rather good in that fez. Like an Ottoman janissary.
Hold on, Peter. I've just had a terrifying thought. You don't think our mysterious visitor is one of those secret reviewers from the Trust, do you?
Hey, what do you think you're doing? You can't just come in here when there's no member of staff in the gift shop.
Oh, sorry. Just the sign said you were open. I just wandered in.
But I wasn't in here, was I? Would you just wander into my house when I wasn't there, put my slippers on and eat me crumpets?
Oh, sorry, I didn't really mean to cause any trouble.
Well, just have a little think next time. Now, what are you looking for, love? I've got some cracking mouse mats on sale.
Well, truth be told, I just came in for a bit of a browse, actually.
Well, we don't like browsing. Buying, then you're talking. That's the ticket. Come on, what do you like the look of?
Well, this is a nice postcard. Oh, in fact, it's rather amusing. So I'd sooner be in the Lake District. That's very good.
You wouldn't if you had to pay council tax. £30 mine's gone up this year.
Oh, well, I think they mean on holiday, you know, rather than...
Oh, you've all the answers, you have. Right, that'll be 40 pence.
Oh, hang on. Not quite sure I want to buy it right now.
60 pence.
What I meant is, I might come back and get it later, after I've been round the museum, so I'm not carrying it about.
It's a postcard, not a breeze block. We might have sold out by then.
Well, you hardly seem rushed off your feet.
Well, I'll be waiting. I've had people make promises before and they've never come back.
Never come back?
Yes, I was here till midnight once, waiting for a nun to buy a colouring book. Miss Rosemary and time. I had to make Alan search the place to check she'd definitely gone.
You must have scared her off.
What are you saying, love?
Nothing. I wasn't... Maybe I should go and have a wander around some of the other rooms.
Some people. So rude.
Why else would a man on his own turn up at a museum unannounced? He must have been sent here undercover by the Trust to review us.
Certainly sounds a great deal more feasible than that whole visitor suggestion Tom made earlier.
Oh, they've really tried to pull a fast one on us this time, Peter. Giving him an umbrella, putting him in trainers, trying to sneak him in under our noses.
But surely Tom would know if they were sending somebody to spy on us. He always seems to be abreast of this corporate management flim-flam.
Unless he's in on it as well.
What a terrifying thought. I think we need to subtly extract some form of confession from Tom before we jump to any conclusions.
Here we go, chaps.
Don't worry, Julian, I'll be discreet.
Right, tea for everyone. So, what ideas have you come up with?
Tom, I don't suppose you're working in cahoots with the Trust in sending a man undercover to review us and close down this fine museum?
Could have been a little more discreet, Peter.
Right, why do I get the impression you haven't been discussing the roof?
Sorry!
Crikey! Nearly got me that time.
Sorry, I didn't realise there was someone down there. I'm just trying to fix a leak.
No, it's probably my fault. I thought you might have roped off this area. I don't like to say it, but have any word of health and safety?
I've heard those words, but never together like that.
Are they electricity cables going through the water? Oh, dear. Your ladder just seems to be two different ladders taped together.
Yes, they are, and yes, it is. Not ideal, is it?
Well, I don't want to be one of these people, fun police, but it all looks really quite dangerous. I mean, not just for members of the public, but actually for you, as a member of staff.
Oh, I'm a volunteer.
Well, yeah, that wasn't quite what I was getting
at. At least I was at the start, and then they had to pay me when all this minimum wage stuff came out.
Oh, well, that's good. What's it up to now?
I think Peter said it was £2.50 a day. £2 if it's raining. So I was usually getting £2. Still, good money. But then, after a while, Peter said they needed it all back. So now I'm just paying off my debts.
So, hang on, so they're making you work for free in dangerous conditions? Oh, goodness, I'd have a word if I were you.
But they do give me somewhere to stay.
Oh, OK, well, at least that's something.
It's a spot on the drive to park my car. By the time I finished here, there's no point driving home, so I just catch 40 mins on the back seat.
40 winks?
No, 40 minutes.
Hello, I'm Emma.
Oh, hello, I'm Martin.
Can I interest you in a tour of Plum House at all?
Oh.
To be honest, we're a bit quiet at the minute, so it'll just be me and you, if that's all right.
Well, yes, terrific. Yes, I love a bit of one-on-one.
Huh?
Well, sorry, that came out wrong.
Yes. Tell you what, it's actually looking a bit clearer now. Why don't we start with the garden?
Maybe first one of us should hold the bottom of the ladder for this gentleman while he fixes that leak.
Oh, Alan's all right. He's tough as old nails. The last time he fell through the roof, he just carried on like nothing had happened.
It's amazing how much work you can get done when you're trying to take your mind off a broken leg. I thought about going to the hospital, but you don't want to make a fuss, do you?
was a time, Tom, not all that long ago, where once a year I would take a train down to London and meet Sir Nigel at the Carlton Club. "Are you still open, Peter?" he would ask. "Yes," I would say. And that was it. That was our annual review.
For the last time, Peter, the man downstairs is not an undercover reviewer.
The writing was on the wall when Sir Nigel's successor asked me to meet him at the RAC Club instead. The RAC.
They'll be wanting us to meet online next, over the internet.
Heaven forbid.
I heard the new head of digital at the Trust was on over £1 million a year.
No, she's not. I promise you, the man downstairs is a visitor and not a reviewer. So please, can we just move on?
Fine.
Right you are. I now declare the inaugural SRC meeting open.
Great. Well, we're obviously here because we need funding for the...
Sorry, Peter, should I take the minutes?
I don't think that's going to be necessary.
Good idea, Julian. Best to keep on top of these things. The entire British Empire was built on paperwork.
Right, just need a pen and some paper.
We can remember everything. It's not going to...
No, would it be line paper, really?
Yeah, I think we might be taking this committee idea a little bit too seriously. I thought it could just be handy to try and come up with a way to raise money for the roof fund, you know?
Well, about that, while you were at Kettle, Tom, and Julian Lavatory, I put in a few calls to some old friends of mine, and we've now got £700 in the pot.
Really? That's fantastic.
Excellent work, Peter.
Oh, you're both too kind. You'll make me blush like a milkmaid, you will. Oh, sir, you made me drop all this milk on the cobbles. The farmer will shout at me.
Who donated the money, Peter?
We really must send them a thank you letter.
Nobody, in the end. Nobody actually picked up. Is it 9 one has to press for outside telephony?
Right, so where did the money come from?
I've moved it over from our electricity budget. I thought I'd just stick it in the pot to get us started, old chap.
Yeah, I don't think that really solves the problem, does it? That's just robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Or robbing Peter to pay Peter, in this case.
To be honest, I'm also a little surprised there was that much money in the electricity budget to start with.
Oh, we're always careful with our money, Tom. That's why we only bank with the best. Bearings. And the other one, the new kids in town.
Northern Rock.
And that little building there is the ice house, which is where Pudding kept his ice all year round.
Very cool.
Yeah. Still in use, actually, unless Alan's finally got round to fixing our fridge.
Right. Oh, look. There's two thrushes over there. I bet one's saying to the other one, "Look, 2 humans over there."
Yes.
I wonder if they have terms for us, you know, like we have for them, you know, flock and gaggle and swarm and all that. So, look, mate, a trouble of humans.
Perhaps. Although they are just birds.
Yes. Yeah. Very nice gardens, these. I've never quite seen planting like it before.
Gardens must have meant a great deal to him, as he still spent extravagantly on plants, even after he'd lost a large part of his fortune.
Oh dear. How did that happen, then?
A disastrous attempt to bring the banana back to Cumbria. They were viewed with much suspicion by the locals. A last-ditch marketing attempt as Yellow Crescent potatoes failed to win them over.
Yellow Crescent potato? It's not very catchy, is it? Don't trip off the tongue.
No.
Oh, it's very sad. I tell you what, though, it's lovely and quiet out here.
It is. Gives you plenty of time to think about your life.
Yes.
Which isn't necessarily a good thing when you work at Plum House.
Well, I do love the peace of the lakes, you know, the tranquility. Though, in a weird way, I always get this feeling like I'm sort of being watched.
I wonder why that is.
Come on, Peter, it's my turn on the binoculars.
The suspect is walking back towards the house.
Great. Can we put them down now?
You heard him, Peter. It's Julian's turn.
No, that isn't what I meant at all.
Well, I'll tell you what, you get some duck eggs coming in here. But that fella this morning, he's the worst. Swanning round, broke into the shop, didn't buy out, starts telling me I scared a nun from buying a colouring book, criticising my customer service.
Did he now? Almost like a reviewer would, perhaps.
Oh, Julian seems to have this ridiculous notion that our visitor is an undercover reviewer from the Trust.
Of course he is.
What?
Peter, I've just had a bit of a shock.
You're telling me? I've just found out that poxy bloke's a reviewer from the Trust.
No, he's not. He's not a reviewer, Maureen.
I meant an electric shock. I can't stop my teeth chattering now. It's the whole water and electricity thing. It turns out to be true.
Well, what have I told you about being more careful, Alan? We don't want you kicking the bucket.
Oh, no, there'd be water everywhere then.
No, you know what?
He did say something about the health and safety here not being up to scratch, I think. I couldn't hear him very well, though. I was at the top of Old Wobbly. That's what I call me two laddies taped together, because they wobble.
I can't afford to lose this job.
Me neither, though I do seem to be paying to work here.
Wait, what?
Come on, Alan. We've got some making up to do.
Guess I'd better get some safety gear on. Show him that I know what I'm doing. Professional.
Oh, I like this one.
Yes, this is considered one of George Pudding's best paintings. You can actually sort of tell what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, it's a cow?
Well, it's a horse.
Horse?
But, yeah, close enough. I only know for sure because it's called My Best Painting of a Horse.
Oh, wow, look at these old skates. Were they George Pudding's?
Yes, he had these specially made to take into account the radically different length of each of his legs.
Ingenious. So he'd go skating on the lakes in winter?
He actually used to wear them to ruin the ballroom floors of people he didn't like, of whom there were many.
Oh, I see.
He was a very difficult man.
Yes.
Here he is, our number one visitor.
I'm sorry?
I made you a bit of lovely chocolate tiffin, fresh out of the oven.
Oh, really? Well, that's very kind of you. Wait, how much is it?
All on the house, free of charge.
Are you feeling all right, Maureen? Maybe you'd need a lie down?
And nothing wrong with me, love. Just keeping my usual high standards round here. Making sure every visitor leaves 110% satisfied.
Well, then, in that case, I don't mind if I do.
There we go. That's the spirit.
Yeah. Well, that's definitely homemade.
Would you like any more?
No, thank you.
Hello again.
Alan? Is that you under there?
I'd forgotten to put all of my safety gear on earlier, but now I've remembered it.
Are you wearing a pair of Peter's reading glasses?
Safety goggles. This old duster of yours, Maureen, is actually a mask to stop me breathing in, dust.
I'm going to have to whiz that later. It'll be full of your germs.
Now, I better go move all the wires away from the water and modern things like that. I'm sorry about the dangerous conditions before.
Oh, well, you know what they say. Better be safe than sorry.
He cracks me up, this one. Tears in my eyes.
Yeah, I'm going to continue giving Martin the tour.
Right you are. I'm going to go and wrap up that postcard for you. Put it in one of those nice gift bags with all the ribbons.
Oh, well, yeah, it's just a postcard. I don't think I'll need to have it
just in case. The customer's always right.
I cannot believe this is the point that we've got to.
I don't suppose you want to do P a big favour, do you, Tom?
Who's P?
Me, Peter. You know, like M. It's a code name. It was either that or Big Daddy Bear #1.
No, let's just stick with the former.
I think Tom might be a little too obvious, so we still don't know if he's a mole anyway. Maybe we could use Emma instead.
Oh, no. She reeks of the honey trap. She might attract bees. Too many bees and people get stung.
Well, this reviewer hasn't met you yet, has he, Peter?
Of course. Tinker, tailor, soldier, curator. I'm a master of disguise, and my wife has this blouse no red-blooded man could resist. If I were to pop it on...
No, I am deeply uncomfortable with where this is heading.
Yes, I didn't quite mean using you as a honey trap, Peter. I remember the last time you dressed up as a woman, your infamous turn as Jasmine in our most recent pantomime. Brown Owl says she's not bringing the brownies back ever again after your belly dance. Some of the girls didn't sleep all Christmas.
If one's going to do Aladdin, one really has to give it an authentic Middle Eastern flavour. I'll admit, though, that the Arabic dialogue was a step too far for the 7-year-olds.
Whoever we send needs to be a chameleon. Somebody who can effortlessly morph into your average Joe off the street and win our reviewers' trust. In fact, I think this is an assignment for one man and one man only. The name's Baxter. Julian Baxter.
Are we ever going to get back to the roof?
This is the kitchen. Obviously, the pots and pans probably gave that away.
Yes. So what sorts of meals were there cooked in here?
Oh, a lot of the usual foods of the day, but nearly always featuring his favourite fruit. George Pudding so loved the plums from his trees that he had the house renamed. Thrush Hall became Plum House.
Oh, these Jenny bowls are amazing. I was thinking you must have some quite valuable objects here at Plum House. If you don't mind me asking, what are the more sort of prized possessions?
I don't think we've really anything priceless. Maureen picks up a lot of the items at local car boot sales.
Oh, that's a shame. I thought a house like this would have a few, treasures on display.
Well, I'm sure a fan of pudding would pay big money for some of the items, but as you can see from our attendance today, they're rather hard to come by.
Hey, hope I'm not interrupting.
What on earth are you wearing, Julian? Are those tracksuit bottoms from the Lost Property box?
Sorry, I think you've got me mixed up with someone else, love. I'm Mike, just a completely average bloke, having a nosy at your museum.
Oh, hello, Mike. I'm Martin.
Hello, mate. Anyway, don't mind me. Love a pint, love a fag, big football fan. I am just your normal, run-of-the-mill northern member of the public. So, carry on. How's the work?
Julian, what are you doing?
So, Martin, now that we're pals, tell me a bit more about yourself.
Me? Oh, well, I quite like walking and history and...
Aye, great. Champion. So, what do you do for a living?
Well, I just have an office job in London, but it does involve the odd bit of travelling around the country, which is nice.
Of course it does. Familiar with the National Heritage Trust at all?
Well, yes, I've heard of them, obviously, but I wouldn't say that...
How are you finding the museum, Martin? Out of 10? Got lots of comments?
Sorry, you lost me, actually.
What are you talking about, Julian?
I've told you, my name's Mike, but you can call me Mick.
That's it, I've had enough of this. Stay here, Martin. I just quickly need to get to the bottom of this.
Righto.
I should probably be getting back as well, actually. Just for the record, I've actually heard that most of the visitors here say it's the best museum they've ever been to.
Oh, really?
Reet grand. All down to the deputy curator, apparently. Some Julian lad who definitely deserves his own nice paragraph.
Yes. Oh, I'll bear that in mind.
And thinking about it, if the Trust did shut the museum down, that Julian would be very deserving of a job down head office in that London.
Sorry.
See you around. Cocker.
A strange bunch.
Here you are, love. That postcard you wanted. I won't even charge you extra for all the gift wrapping.
Oh, right. Yes. That's quite a big bag for a postcard, isn't it? Oh, what's this on the side? Here.
I've written your name in glitter. And some left over from decorating our collection box.
Oh, personalised. That's very thoughtful. Although I hate to say it, but my name's actually Martin.
Yes, that's what it says.
Oh, it looks more like Mortin with an O.
No, it doesn't.
Well, it does a bit.
Why would I think you were called Mortin? Who's called Mortin?
Well, I don't know. My name's Martin.
I know it is. That's why I've written it on the side.
It just looks a bit more like an O.
Give it to you. You're not getting anything now. Forget it. I don't care what you say in your review. You were always going to stick the knife in.
What review?
What is going on?
Oh, you don't want to know.
It seems to be fancy dress and act like an idiot day, but I must have missed the memo.
Mission accomplished.
Our top undercover agent returns, and it sounds like success sings her sweet song.
Let's just say he didn't suspect I'm deputy curator of this museum.
Julian, I've never suspected you're deputy curator of this museum.
All our fears were founded. He is definitely a reviewer from the Trust.
What?
He couldn't hide it from old Jules. Started blabbing like a baby.
No, Julian, the Trust would never send a reviewer without giving us plenty of notice before...
How dare they send some undercover operative to besmirch my reputation? 30 years I've been curator of Plum House, and to treat...
Knock. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Just wanted to say that I've actually got to go now, Emma, so thanks for the tour. Thank you.
Why, you sneaky, deceitful blackguard.
Sorry?
Okay, calm down, Peter.
You can run back to Mother and tell nasty tales about Plum House and finish us off for good. You're very much mistaken. I will jump before I'm ever pushed. Do you hear me? I'll jump!
Martin, are you an undercover reviewer sent from the National Heritage Trust?
No, I'm not.
You sure?
Well, I only popped in because I just happened to be driving past.
Well, I think you owe this man an apology. Well, both of you.
He might be lying. Perhaps the Trust have told him to pretend.
Julian!
Sorry, Martin.
And I can only apologise as well. I fear old Peter's made a bit of a fool of himself, like when I heckled Yehudi Menuhin over a misunderstanding of what key Elgar's violin concerto was in.
I can finish off that tour,
I
Martin.
think I just want to get going, actually.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Right, well, bye then. Probably won't come back in a hurry.
Perhaps not our finest hour.
Yeah.
Hold on. He's getting there. He seems to be smiling. I think we might have a record breaker.
Yes, I think that's your best chocolate tiffin to date, Maureen.
I knew it was a good un.
We're talking high 6s, low 7s for this one.
Is that it?
Are we even going to discuss yesterday, guys? I mean, that was our first visitor in weeks, and we managed to drive him away.
You're right, Tom. I think we'd best give ourselves a little pat on the bottom. It wasn't our finest hour.
Well, you know how disappointed I am about the whole affair. But at least we can now get back to the most important issue, fixing the roof. Now, where's Alan?
Oh, the last time I saw him, he was on the roof trying to plug a hole with some of Maureen's tiffin from yesterday.
Oh, there's still plenty left.
If I'd known about its other uses, I might have marked it up a little.
See, with the £700 from the electricity budget, we should be able to fix the roof once and for all.
Dark times lie ahead.
Yes, yeah, we're going to have to use candlelight for a little while, but hey, at least we'll be dry. At least we'll have a roof over our heads.
I don't believe it!
What is it, Alan?
You haven't fallen through the roof again, have you?
Spit it out, man.
The collection box with the roof money, it's gone!
What?
What, the whole 700 quid?
Who could have done...
Martin.
Hello, sorry to bother you.
And not a good time.
Yeah, we've just had some terrible news.
Oh dear. Well, I've come from the Trust to do a little spot check review.
From the Trust? No, they would have to
I
give
don't suppose
warning.
anybody could give me a little tour, could they?
Would you like a bit of free chocolate tiffin, love?
As always, thank you for joining us this evening. We'll leave it at that. It's been a jam-packed broadcast. So until next time, sleep tight. This is a production of Lobato Studios, Sao Paulo, Brazil.